Hey everyone, welcome to the Nintendo Prime Podcast, Season 2, Episode 20. We just have 5 people at the moment because HMK is going to be joining us a little bit later. He's a bit caught up in traffic due to some sporting events, but he will be here when he can get here. So yeah, that's one of our guests that's going to hear. But you know what? Let's stick with the ones that we do have present at the moment. First off, our co-host, as always, Mr. Eric Moore. How's it going, buddy?
Good. Great to be here as always.
And you know what? I just updated it today. So now when Andres Restart's channel gets shared in the chat, it's going to mention he's a co-host because he's basically been co-hosting the entire season 2. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing all right.
Then we got Darren up at the top right, who's attempting to become another co-host. I don't know. I don't know what Darren's deal is, to be completely honest.
Re-become a co-host?
Re-become a co-host. He's trying to claim his throne back from like 6 years ago.
I'm here.
You exist. You exist. And then smack dab in the middle, literally, we're all surrounding him at the moment. He's Mr. Popular, Sumbro Nation.
What's up, guys? Happy to be back. We're here, guys. We're here. We're at the home stretch. Let's go.
The home stretch. I mean, look, if you guys want to get technical, go get the Australian version and play at like 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to wait more than a few hours, which is crazy. You can literally go to bed tonight, wake up tomorrow, and you're pretty much set. You might have to buy the game twice, but it's the thing. It's possible.
I mean, I'm buying it like 5 times already.
Yeah, same. They got their fair share of money out of me. I'll tell you.
They're getting quite a bit out of me. That being said, we're going to go around and talk about what we've been playing lately. But first, we need to give a big congratulations to Andres Restart for hitting his 25,000 goal. Hell yeah, man.
Good job, Andres.
Yeah.
Right in time for your goal, too. I was happy for you, man.
I saw you nervous he might not get it because he slowed down for a moment. No. He's going to get there.
Yeah. I was like, killer. We were doing pretty good. We were gaining about 1,000 a week. And then the last on Sunday, like usually like Sundays when we would like break the next 1,000. And then it was like, oh, no, we slowed down.
I just wanted to play with your emotions a little bit. YouTube algorithm. Somebody was manually adjusting the view counts on your videos, subscriber counts. No.
I don't know. It's an up and down. It's an up and down beast battle. But we're here. We made it. With some time to spare. So it's not that nerve wracking. So
not anymore. Not anymore. I mean, maybe if it was tomorrow and you still weren't there, I'd be like,
I would have just been more disappointed at like losing momentum, I guess. But it's cool.
Nah,
we're here.
Keep it going.
You crank out 10 videos in the same day. Like, really trying to cross that finish line. Day before Tears of the Kingdom, he's posted his 11th video.
Nah, I don't know, but here we are. We made it. Thank you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so, I'm glad to see you hit that milestone. And now, what's your next one? What's your next goal?
Yeah, I think I talked about it on my live stream yesterday. Probably gonna aim for 50K by the end of the year. There's a small part of me that wants to be like, no, 100K by the time Metroid Prime 4 comes out, which is
then they drop it in September.
Yeah, right.
Watch it drop it in like September, and it's like, oh wait. Stretching.
All right, I'm gonna become the biggest Metroid YouTuber. So here we go.
Ever.
Yeah.
You just got to build whatever craftable rocket that Nate built to up his channel to 120.
Yeah. Whatever rocket that what was it in 4 and let's just go 2023. Right? It's basically been like 4 months. 47,000 new subscribers this year.
That's insane, man. I was going to say huge congrats to you too, because that is a ridiculous amount of ground to gain. You don't see that. So killer job, man. Been my go-to for Tears of the Kingdom news too, because you've delved into the depths of the internet that I won't look at. So
to find the legit news that isn't leaks. Yeah, I know. Because honestly, to find like all the merchandise or to find like every little piece of like marketing that's out there, you really got to go to places online that involve leaks. So you got to be really cool with that. And a lot of
if anyone's got the experience to do the deep dives into the deep corners of the internet for all the news, it's Nate. If there was one person for all the Zelda news,
for Zelda, I got lots of experience with Zelda. Yeah. See, back in the day, though, I might have been the scumbag posting all the leaks on Zelda Informer just for clicks. So, you know,
definitely, yeah.
But it's labeled. It's okay. Yeah, but your image shows the inside of a dungeon. Yeah, well, you know.
Yeah.
As long as you're not pulling a Kotaku over there, it's all good.
No, I wasn't pretending that we deserved review copies, and yet we still got them anyways. I don't really know. That was the dog days. That was before people like social media really wasn't super big yet. So, anyways, times have obviously changed. You guys know I don't post leaks. The moment that a game leaks, we stop covering leaks. You guys know we do leaks and rumors. We had some rumors in my video today about some Mario games and Metroid Prime 4 today. Pretty excited about that. Except I forgot to put a link in the description that I said I was going to put in the description. I just remembered it because I'm staring at Andres Research's face. I was going to link his video as the source on the rumor that Metroid Prime 4 is done. But that's not the news today. The news today is it's coming this year. But that's coming from Nate Drake. Anyways, that's not the
I missed that.
But is Nate willing to put his hair on the line? We may or may not see him shave.
You telling me is the news of that? Which okay.
So to be clear, me and Andres both heard from the same legit source that Metroid Prime 4 is done.
Yeah.
So I have no doubt that it's done. The source was right on other stuff that we talked about.
Yeah.
So, but it being done doesn't mean it's coming out anytime soon, right? Like Nintendo can just sit on it until whenever. It could be for the next generation device or something. But Nate Drake came out today, or actually I think it was last night, and he said, I do know about some unannounced games Nintendo has planned for later in this year. And then he said, I think they're going to announce Metroid Prime 4 in like September for this holiday. If not, then it would be in a very early direct in 2024. And then someone asked him directly, are you just giving an opinion, or is this like based on what you've heard? And he said, mostly based on what I heard with a bit of speculation on when they'll reveal it, but this year.
It would make sense to launch holiday. They need games for the holiday quarter, you know.
So that's where it's like, hey guys, if you love Zelda and Metroid, it's a great year. It sounds like.
I'm just saying,
remaster. You get Prime 4 maybe at the end of the year. Zelda squeeze between.
We gotta get somebody to put their hair on the line. So Nate Drake, even though he is not on camera, if he puts his hair on the line for this year,
coming this year, by the way.
Then we know if Nate Drake puts his hair on the line, or somebody does, then that way, if he says it comes this year, we for sure know it's coming Q1 2024 because Nintendo will let him. Nintendo will let him.
If Jeff Grubb comes out and says, "I'll put my beard on the line." Hey, buddy, get ready to be clean shaved in January. We're getting
its shadow dropped at that February direct next year. Let's go.
Man,
that would be bad. Anyways, let's get into what have we been playing lately. And you know what? I'll go first just to get it out of the way. Look, guys, it was Breath of the Wild Master Mode, and that's it. That's all I played because we finished it off. We finished it off on Monday. I was going to dive into some other stuff, and I decided, you know what? If I just finished that off on Monday, what am I really going to get into and finish before Friday? Let's just be honest. Probably nothing. There's not any game that I'm so close that I only need to get a few hours into to finish. So I just said, we're going to sit here and patiently wait for Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm just going to work 14-hour days. So you're welcome for all the content, guys. That being said, I'm very tired, and I'm going to continue to be tired because it doesn't stop. I'm doing 12-hour live streams all weekend of Tears of the Kingdom, so it's going to be crazy. Plus, I'm still going to try to make videos while doing that. So I don't know. I'm insane. Don't be me. People always say, what does it take to be successful on YouTube? I say, living an extremely unhealthy life. So let's move on. And
I haven't worked out in a while. I played pickleball on Sunday.
Yeah, I've been trying to go. So I'm trying to do like a daily swim thing. But this week I had to stop because I'm too busy because of Tears of the Kingdom. So like,
Tears of the Kingdom comes first.
Yeah, right. The work comes first.
6 years, you'll be all right.
Once I get past Tears of the Kingdom, I'll get back to my daily swims and everything. But
yeah.
So Eric, what have you been playing lately, man?
I played some Sparks of Hope, the Tower of Doom. I actually beat one round of the Tower of Doom so far.
Hell yeah.
So it was definitely a whole lot more difficult than the actual game itself.
Yes, it is.
But once I figured out a different strategy, I struggled for the first 3 levels. Not struggled, but I finally figured out the strategy, and then we'll just kind of walk through everything else to a certain extent. But yeah, I played that, and then I downloaded and I planned on playing Grounded on my Xbox, and Goat Simulator, but I haven't gotten to that point yet. So I haven't downloaded.
He's made a step. He's made baby steps here.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm proud of you, Eric. I'm proud of you.
Proudy. He's slowly gonna touch that Xbox
again,
Series, that Xbox Series X that he bought.
Yeah, right.
You know, he's finally might play. You know what happened, guys? Here's what really happened, right? He buys the Xbox Series X, and we're all excited to play. What was that game again? Back 4 Blood together, and then they mess up some of the stuff with it, and we're just like, damn it, this was supposed to be the Left 4 Dead replacement, and it didn't really do it.
No.
So then we're like, okay, well, this sucks. So he pretty much hasn't touched it since then. I'm surprised you still touched your Switch after after what they did to Crystal Chronicles.
Oh God, yeah, I know, right?
Because we both bought Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, the remake or remaster or whatever on Switch, and then they butchered that bad.
Yeah, they did.
So I'm surprised you didn't just quit Switch at that point too.
Yeah. No, for sure.
It's because Zelda drew you back in, to be honest. There it is.
No, 100%.
All right.
And I got Friday off and I'm going to play that. So
nice. Darren, what have you been playing lately? Let me guess. Modern Warfare 2, chess, and Breath of the Wild.
The first two are correct.
Yes!
First two are correct.
Not
hard
the
to guess.
play sessions.
The weekly play sessions, that's usually what I do after work. But I had something of my own to finish before Tears of the Kingdom comes out. I hopped on a Fortnite and finished that Star Wars Battle Pass they got going on. Got that Darth Maul skin. I don't really play Fortnite a lot, but whenever they have some Star Wars content come out, I got to hop in and grab that. So I got that done. All finished up. Ready to go to work tomorrow. Come home, take a nap, wake up at midnight. Play Tears of the Kingdom, have the following 10 days off from work.
Yeah, I was going to be like, you took time off. I know you took time off for Zelda.
I got 10 days, motherfucker. I got 10 days.
Damn.
My girlfriend is pissed. Because all I'm going to do is play that game.
I ain't played on it with you. Sorry.
Nope.
You can bring the food, but that's all you can do for me, baby. Sorry.
Yep.
Priorities. Once every 6 years, okay? You're around daily. Once every 6.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Andres Restart, what you been playing lately? Or should I ask Ruby what Ruby's been playing lately?
Well, we're playing Breath of the Wild. So we've been playing that. People are going to start streaming Tears of the Kingdom tomorrow. So I'm like, oh, I just realized I'll be streaming Breath of the Wild tomorrow. Should I even? We'll see. I'll probably.
You did say I'm playing Zelda every day when you hit 25K.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. So that's gonna happen. Beyond that, I'll sit up. It's just my cat. Beyond that, I've been playing. Oh, careful.
All
right, where are you going?
Deciding to get acrobatic around here.
Where are you going? All right. Beyond that, I'm playing Future Redeemed. Hey, be careful. All right, she's good. She didn't fall. She jumped down. And there's like a soft carpet there. Besides cats, they can jump. But yeah, I've been trying to finish Future Redeemed as well. I think we're close.
It's hard to know if you don't know exactly how it ends, how close.
Yeah, but I'm at the point where they're like, okay, you need to get to this point where everything kind of it feels like the
conclusions on the horizon.
Maybe not the conclusion. It's probably like a penultimate thing. Like I'm sure. I think there's probably like another big area right after, but I think I've got to be like in the second to last big area. So, and I'm at the boss there. So I think after that, it'll be the big moment, which I don't know. But the game can't be that long, right?
That's right. It's Xenoblade, right?
Famous last words.
Yeah, but it's just DLC though. It's just DLC.
But you know what they did with the last DLC, and this was supposedly longer than that one. So,
well, Tears of the Kingdom is just DLC, and we'll spend a lot of hours with that. So,
I mean, look, sometimes DLC is kind of like what they added to The Witcher 3, and then it's like a whole new game.
Yeah, I do like Future Redeemed more than Torna because Torna, like, it kind of artificially lengthened its gameplay because you were forced to do side quests. Future Redeemed, you don't have to do side quests, so that may be why some people said it's shorter because you could finish it faster.
Oh, sure, but then if you do all the side quests, then maybe it's longer.
Yeah, the world's pretty. I would say fairly substantial for DLC, so it's pretty good.
Nice. All right, Sunbro Nation. Dude, I don't know what you've been playing. I haven't seen you in a month. How's it going?
Oh, it's going good. it's been a rotation of games, but primarily like I told myself I'm done with Breath of the Wild, but then I just keep going doing random side stuff because I've already beat Ganon. We're ready to wrap it up. DLC's done. I mean, I'm wrapped up on that game, yet I still find myself going back just to play for fun in like very short bursts. Minish Cap run throughs progressing nicely. Me and my fiance have been playing that together, and then so she's got it on her Switch, I got it on mine. That's kind of fun. But just recently, I did decide to pick up Jedi Survivor, and now that's taken up some of my time. Full well knowing that I'm not going to have time to complete it before Tears of the Kingdom, so I'm going to hit the pause button on that like as of tomorrow. But I will say that I've enjoyed the beginning like 3-4 hours of it. Still very early on, but it's they tightened up a lot of the combat mechanics that I had complaints around from the previous game. Fallen Order, was it? Yeah. So I'm a fan of it. It's a soul-styled Star Wars game, but if you add in a little bit of like the jump from Uncharted type of, but it's good. It's good.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. Let's see. So normally at this point, guys, we go over some stories from the last week, but we're actually going to kind of skip it this week. We're going to try to shorten the podcast a smidge just because I've been just working like a dog over here. And besides, we got two really, really big topics to talk about. Let's just get into the one that everyone won't stop talking about. That's Tears of the Kingdom. Hello. It's been a topic on the podcast like every week, except like this time it's here, guys. Like, for you Aussies or people with an Australian account that want to buy it, it's here in like 12 hours, a little over 12 hours. For the rest of us, you know, it'll drop at all these different times over the next 24 hours. Except for us here in the US, I think it will technically be 27 and a half hours.
27 and a half. Yeah.
27 and a half hours, I believe, when we'll be able to play the digital version officially. And then there's a whole bunch of you other people out there that have just been playing this damn thing since Monday of last week. So, look, I'm not here to judge you guys, but you know who you are. By the way, no spoilers in the chat, please. Just a nice reminder that we are not doing spoilers. I will note that next week's podcast, we will allow spoilers up to a certain point in the game because we'll be giving some impressions and stuff up to
at least what the treehouse covers, I'm gonna assume.
Yeah. So, anyways, so what could we possibly talk about, right? Like we talked so much about this game, and yet there's still some things we can get into. I think the first thing I want to get into is review score predictions because we didn't get them today. No, the embargo's tomorrow. So since we can't talk about the reviews, which would have, I mean, that could have been a whole podcast right there just talking about the reviews. Let's instead talk about what we think it's going to review as. Is it going to match Breath of the Wild? Is it going to be less? Can it outdo Metroid Prime Remaster, currently the #1 reviewed game on Switch this year?
So I, about a week or so ago during a live stream, was asked about this, and I predicted at least a 95 on Metacritic. And I'm sticking to at least that, but I'm thinking, like, honestly, I've tried to avoid the leaks, but I've heard people say some things. I've heard a little bit. And now that they've confirmed dungeons, so officially this was publicly said. Don't get mad at me for saying that.
There's dungeons, guys. You know what? I was just on that for a moment. All you people out there are like, you're spoiling the game. You said dungeons. Every Zelda game for 37 years has had dungeons. And I know you're going to say, but Breath of the Wild, they called the Divine Beast dungeons, and they've been calling them dungeons consistently for like 7 years. We're at a point now where it doesn't matter if you don't like them. They're dungeons. So, oh my gosh, there's dungeons. That's not a spoiler.
Yeah. But what Nintendo said about the dungeons in Tears of the Kingdom compared to Breath of the Wild
could be.
Bodes really well.
You would like be choosing to consume that.
And they literally said dungeons are back on their Twitter. So, I mean, yeah.
Go on.
Yeah.
I don't know. Someone says, "Oh, but the headline of their what was it?" Someone told me the headline of their interview didn't mention dungeons. I'm like, no, the headline of their tweet did.
You got spoiled by Nintendo. Congratulations.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm thinking that this game is going to be a masterpiece. I think it's actually going to address a lot of the issues people had with Breath of the Wild, and I think it's going to shock people just in terms of everything it does. And just looking at what we've seen of the gameplay, I think they found a way to make this feel totally new and refreshing. And reading the Q&As, which I've been covering, I mean, Nate, I know you've been covering it too.
Yep.
Like they've been paying, they're aware of like the concerns and criticism people have for both Breath of the Wild and the lead up for Tears of the Kingdom. Like they have this term that they refer to as the Great Mundanity. Like this argument people have been having on the internet for the last 6 months about this being a $70 DLC. Nintendo's aware of the potential issues of doing a sequel like this. Hence why they refer to it as the Great Mundanity. They're trying to do everything they can to make it feel fresh while it's still being the world, just evolving it. So I think they're hyper aware of everything they need to accomplish. I think the Zelda team, I mean, they've proven it time and again. They always make a game of the year candidate kind of game. And I'm going to say, I mean, I think most of us are going to play this and think it's at least better than Breath of the Wild. And now how will it review? Because just because people may think it's better doesn't mean it will review better. But I'm going to go on a limb and say, I'm going to actually tweak what I said last week. I think it's going to at least be a 96 on Metacritic. And I'm going to even say I have an optimism that it will be the highest reviewed game on Nintendo Switch, potentially hitting 98. Is this hype talking? Is this hype talking? It may be. Hopium, copium, mopium. I don't care whatever opium you want to add there. But the fact matter is, objectively, this game is going to be better than Breath of the Wild. I think they're doing things to make this feel like a fresh experience that will innovate in ways. And with that in mind, I think it could be better than Breath of the Wild from a review standpoint, which means maybe better than 97. So 98, here we come. It could also still be a 97 and just be a higher 97 than Breath of the Wild's 97. So that's also possible. But yeah, I'm on it. I'm on the hype train. I think 98 is in the cards, but at least 96.
I see some outlets being like, if Tears of the Kingdom is more populated than Breath of the Wild, they'll be like, I miss the melancholy feeling of desolate exploration, and it was so peaceful, and this game, there's just a lot happening, and it's like, yeah, it's a sequel, there's a lot more happening. I see a lot of weird reviews and a lot of weird nitpicks coming, and that makes me a little nervous for the review score, but hopefully it all irons out.
I'm with Andres. I actually think that there's a chance, a small chance, that it beats Breath of the Wild, but I don't want to get my hopes up for that. I'm actually going to predict a 96. I think that it's going to review lower than Breath of the Wild just because of what that change in formula to the Zelda game, taking it open world for the first time, kind of did and shocked all the reviewers. I think it is going to be objectively a way better game than Breath of the Wild, and the fan response is going to be significantly better behind it, but you'll have enough reviewers that felt like, well, they reused the same Hyrule and there's gameplay mechanics that are similar enough to what we did before. There's puzzles, whatever nitpick they want to find that can pull them out of that higher Metacritic tier. Like when a game does something revolutionary for the first time, I feel like that's when we see like those ridiculously high scores. And not saying Tears of the Kingdom won't do a ton of things for the first time, but that's where like my hope for like the 98 kind of falls off a cliff. I think there's going to be enough of like a mixed review or just, not as positive, just due to the fact that it hasn't like been the true reinvention of the formula, because we already saw that with Breath of the Wild, and you don't have to reinvent the formula every time, but I think that's what stops it from hitting that 98. I would love to see it, but I think it's 96. I think it comes in slightly less than Breath of the Wild, and then it's going to be because I think we'll see like they did a great job expanding everything in the current Hyrule and adding in, beneath the ground areas and also in the skies and dungeons, but it also still plays very similar to Breath of the Wild. Like that's what I'm expecting some of the critic style reviews to read. And so, but that said, 96 is still like a ridiculously high score. So, and I think the users behind it will be like, well, this is what Breath of the Wild should have been. It's the evolution of the open world formula. It is way better. It is more enjoyable, but because it's not the first time we've seen a Zelda game kind of attempt this formula, I don't think it gets higher than Breath of the Wild.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there have been some game series that have kind of like the same thing, and they still end up reviewing incredibly well. Like I feel like Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty, like they're pretty much just the same game again, but they're maybe more robust or just kind of more of the same, and they sometimes review even higher.
True, but a Zelda game, I mean, think about like Ocarina of Time, like that was that's kind of set the standard for the 3D era of Zelda games and the base like formula for them, and that's the highest. I don't know. It could. I would love to be wrong. I would love to see it hit 98, highest Switch score ever.
I'm just throwing out potential counter arguments. Here's another actually, because it's been so long since Breath of the Wild, 6+ years. It's gonna feel, even if they were to replay Breath of the Wild, it would feel fresh. But playing Tears of the Kingdom, it's probably gonna feel really new for a lot of people.
I agree. I think people. My stance on this is I think people enjoy it significantly more. I can see some of that. The critic eye type reviews is what's going to bring down those couple of points. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I get that. Yeah, I'm on the hype train.
But hey, bring it down a couple of points at 96 is still insane. You know what I mean? Like, we're expecting this game to not score, but I don't know if anybody's going to predict beneath a 95. But I think that beneath a 95, I doubt that that's in the conversation. Like, if we wake up and it's a 93, I'm going to be shook. I mean, I really don't think that that's going to happen. But and that says something in and of itself.
93 would still be amazing, by the way.
I know.
93 could still be game of the year.
True.
So first off, welcome HMK.
It's gonna be 99. It's gonna be 99.
There we go.
I can't be 93. That was Skyward Sword level. It's got to be higher than that.
Ocarina of Time is the highest at what, 98?
98, I think.
98,
yeah. No, it's gonna be 98. It's gonna be 98 or 99. I'm actually like, okay, if we're talking about Metacritic scores. Hi everyone. It's gonna be.
I'm so happy. But came in on Tears of the Kingdom
timing.
97. I'm thinking. I'm like, if I'm saying like the copium is 99. But I mean, if I'm like ground truth, I'm honestly thinking 97 because everything I've seen of the game, everything I've heard about the game, Breath of the Wild was just a test run. That's
Breath of the Wild was an appetizer. This is the main course.
And
Tears of the Kingdom is going to be it. I'm like, I've been saying it for so long that Tears of the Kingdom, I really think it's going to be the ultimate Zelda and truly something to earn the respect of being Zelda 20. It's who's playing tomorrow?
Midnight.
Midnight.
Tomorrow.
I'm going to a midnight launch event at my local GameStop.
Downloading that Australian copy.
Yeah, I debated it, but I'm like, I've already bought like 3 copies.
That midnight EST time, that's when I'm going to be playing my copy. I already have mine like
me too.
Yeah, I won't be playing until 8 a.m. on Friday, but that's because I'm doing a 12-hour straight live stream. So I'm forcing myself to get one night of sleep before the Tears of the Kingdom. That's all I do for.
We have plenty of time to sleep when we're dead.
Preloaded.
It's just preloaded and waiting. Yep, there it is.
Man.
Midnight Eastern.
Yeah.
Yep. Or 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah, because if you're on the West Coast, you're just
point.
like, I'm balling.
Apparently, that's like Nintendo's official eShop like reports on their site says that like games are going to be sold physically and digitally go live 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which I'm like, that's all, man, midnight. That's a whole 3 hours. Like, California time. Let's go.
Yeah, you Californians over there are having a pretty sweet deal this Friday. Sorry, tomorrow, not even Friday, tomorrow.
I want to go back to what HMK was saying though about how this might feel like the completion, right? And Breath of the Wild was like a beta. I heard like a while back, right? I know I'm not the only one who thought about this, but like looking at the initial Zelda U trailer, like the 2014 trailer.
Oh
right?
man, the desert.
Like that thing looks so cool. And they had a vision there. And I think they did a great job of getting close to that with Breath of the Wild, but it wasn't quite the same. I do kind of feel like with Tears of the Kingdom, like every kind of idea they sort of envisioned, this is the mastery of all of that into one thing. And if it is the case, it's going to make Breath of the Wild feel like just like a tech demo. Then your point, Sunbro, about how some people might come at this thinking it's too samey, they might go in the opposite direction. And it'll be like, oh, this is like the complete mastery of what a true open air Zelda is. And then it might be considered revolutionary if it's actually a true open air.
I can see that. It can swing the other way. Absolutely.
I was thinking of like more of along the lines of like there's very few video games that do this in gaming as a whole, where like I think Tears of the Kingdom is going to answer both questions, in which for those who loved Breath of the Wild, they're going to love Tears of the Kingdom. For those that didn't like Breath of the Wild, they're going to love Tears of the Kingdom. To me, it's a really interesting anomaly that Nintendo is trying to answer all the questions, which is like, it's almost unheard of in gaming, but it's been accomplished, but very, very rarely, right? And I feel that Tears of the Kingdom is gonna do exactly that, because Breath of the Wild, as much as I love the game, and like I constantly say like, oh, what's your favorite Zelda game? Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild. It's like it's those two, but there's a lot of complaints to Breath of the Wild. As much as I love it, and I understand a lot of those complaints. People will be like, oh, rain, like slipping off, and weapons breaking, like those. I'm like, yo, it's the real, not the real world, but it's like a living, breathing world. So that doesn't affect me. But when people say lack of traditional dungeons, lack of more traditional elements that they've known from previous Zelda games that they wish were in Breath of the Wild, I get that, right? And from what we've been seeing in like the demo and the final trailer and everything that we were seeing like up until now, because Nintendo's like trickling things like little by little, I feel that Tears of the Kingdom is set to answer a lot of those, complaints in a way that could have been answered in Breath of the Wild, but wasn't, because of either not enough development time, limitations for the Wii U, yada, yada, yada. And Tears of the Kingdom is set to do that. It's set to accomplish what a lot of people think is the impossible. And that's why I'm like, this is Zelda 20. And I feel like this is going to be something special. People think, I thought Breath of the Wild was something special, but everything I've been seeing for Tears of the Kingdom is like, yo, that's, like only Nintendo would be able to like take that bar that I thought was extremely high with Breath of the Wild and just be like, nah, that was the bottom. This is the new top now. And that's why I think Tears of the Kingdom is going to be.
So I'm thinking, I think this is going to have a 97 on Metacritic.
97, yeah, that's what
I think it's going to tie Breath of the Wild, and who knows,
Mm-hmm.
maybe be percentage points ahead, because that happens sometimes. Where maybe it's technically rated ahead, but it's not quite a full percent up. I think a lot of it is going to come down to how many of the reviewers truly played the game, and how many just played it for a handful of hours and decided, I've seen enough, I'm going to write a review. I think for the big outlets, clearly they're going to be playing a lot more of it, but you have to worry about how many smaller outlets might get counted that maybe made judgments about the game before fully diving in. Because I do think those
are the outlets we sandbag.
Yeah, I do think there's something to be said about people that maybe just played the tutorial area, got down to the ground, did a few quests, and then like they just made their decision then about what this game is. And I know that you shouldn't say that, it takes 15, 20 hours to get into a game. And I think if you loved Breath of the Wild, you'll have no problem getting into it. But I do worry that maybe they might go, I only really did the beginning stuff, and it feels too samey to Breath of the Wild. So I just think that this is the $70 DLC, and that's the way I'm going to go with it. I think I think that's one of the few risks, just based on what I've heard and seen, that maybe some people might get that feeling early on, because everything I have heard is that the deeper you go, the crazier it gets. And that's so awesome, by the way. Games should get crazier the deeper you get in. But the problem is it's a direct sequel. So if it feels too samey for the first, say 5-10 hours, I do worry that are there going to be some review outlets that, by the way, I don't think you should review a game if you haven't at least beat the main story. I'm just going to throw that out there. You got to 100% the game, but at least get through the main story. Come on.
So about that though, and we kind of talked about this not too long ago, but like let's use like the mainline Mario games as an example. If you just do the main story, that's still not really telling the full story of the game.
Because they have a lot of bonus content.
Well, yeah, like for me,
end game content.
Actually doing a Mario game, like beating Bowser, that's just a halfway point. It's the second half that's the true
Super
Mario
experience. 3D Land on the 3DS.
Oh yeah.
That's
like half
exactly
the game
that is the halfway
the
point.
Yeah.
If you don't got Luigi, halfway point.
Yeah.
Man.
That's a good
but
example.
A lot of reviewers will only go to the halfway point. Oh, solid credits. That's it.
I just want them to at least get to the credits. You know what I mean? Like there's reviewers that come out that didn't even finish.
That's
to
bare
get to
minimum.
The credits,
It's bare minimum.
But we do know, and I can tell when I read the reviews, the reviewers that didn't actually beat the game. like once I beat the game and I go back and read the review, I'm like, God, they didn't even beat the game.
Well, I think that's worth pointing out as a topic of conversation in and of itself is how much stock. I know it's fun to say like the highest Metacritic reviewed Zelda game ever or the highest Metacritic reviewed Switch game ever, but the reality is that it doesn't really hold as much weight as we make it out to be, just because, to your point, Nate, there is going to be reviewers that had a halfway playthrough and they have some crappy take because they didn't like the Hyrule layout and they're like, oh, it's still in the same Hyrule, this game's kind of BS. Like, that stuff's still going to happen. And so it is fun to celebrate those huge numbers, but I'm with you guys. I think that the game's going to evolve the open world, Breath of the Wild, Zelda formula to what it's supposed to evolve into, and it's going to be a masterpiece of a game. And I think that's how most every Zelda fan is going to walk away from this game. But I think there might be some controversy around the score with certain reviewers. Like, I could see it definitely happening.
See, I think it's still going to hit a 97 despite some of those, because let's just be honest, most of the outlets being counted are the very outlets that got Breath of the Wild to 97 anyways. So if a majority of those outlets end up loving this game even more, and I don't know why they wouldn't, you can argue you hate saying this, that there's incentives to like the game because of how popular it is as well, and being able to create a bunch of content around it. But it is one of those things that I do think it's going to end up impressing even people who have their criticisms, and there'll be criticisms of this game as well. And they might be new, they might be sane, they might be, oh, they didn't fix this that I thought they would fix. But I get this feeling, and no, guys, while I know some stuff from the leaks, I haven't played it, I haven't experienced it, I pretty much know nothing about the story. I gotta say, this sounds. I'm not. We don't talk leaks, HMK. We don't talk leaks. I would say just because I've heard some stuff, but I'm not gonna say what I've heard. It just sounds like this is going to be that game that is not going to disappoint. There's so many big games that have the big expectations that don't quite always deliver. But this is going to be like this year's Elden Ring. Like, it's going to deliver.
Does it take Game of the Year? Predictions, anyone?
The only thing that could touch it, I think, at this point is
Metroid Prime 4.
It is.
No, man, you're thinking Metroid Prime 4 is going to come out this year. That's funny.
Well,
apparently,
according to the Nate the Hate, it might be.
We still have 2 and 3 to come out.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. 2 and 3, I don't think it's coming out.
I think there's only 2 games right now for my and people are like, oh, but what about this game? No, to me, 2 games there's only 2 games on my list that can compete with Tears of the Kingdom for Game of the Year, and that's
Spider-Man 2,
Spider-Man 2, and Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah. Those are the 2 games.
Yeah, but
I mean, maybe Starfield, but they'd really have to be. It'd have to be almost perfect. And I don't know that I trust Bethesda. I think it's going to be really good, but I think it's going to rate in the high 80s.
And that's perfect in 6 months, but not whenever the reviewers review it.
I just don't think it's going to be good enough. But I do think it's going to be really good. By the way, Bethesda, when they go all out, it ends up being a really good game. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean Game of the Year. I think the one shot Bethesda will have in the next handful of years is whenever the next Elder Scrolls comes out, because there's so many people. There's so many people that played Skyrim that if they don't mess it up by default, it's going to be a contender. But anyways, and that's the thing. Do I think Tears of the Kingdom can beat out Final Fantasy 16? It's hard to say because it's not here. But sure, a Zelda has beaten out Final Fantasy before. Can it beat out Spider-Man 2? I don't know. Spider-Man and Miles Morales were both fantastic. Do I think it's more of a media darling than those 2? Well, sure. Every Zelda game always scores 93 plus. That's just what it does. It's a big media darling. But that's different than when it comes to the end of the year voting. It could end up being the highest reviewed game, but then not be Game of the Year. That happens. So
there's a bunch of baloney.
Bro,
all the critics decided that this was the highest rated Game of the Year, but also these same critics wouldn't vote for it for Game of the Year.
No. Listen. If Tears of the Kingdom is going to sell 20 million, and that would be a low ball.
I think it sells 20 million this year. Easy.
I think that's like the low ball.
Easy. After by the end of holidays, I think they're gonna do a strong holiday push.
By and including holidays, then 20
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet sold 20 million in like a month and a half.
But that's
2 games,
Pokemon.
and it's 2 games.
That Pokemon sales conversation cracks me up because yes, it did, but like half of all the hardcore Pokemon fans bought both day one.
Right.
So.
But come on,
pack.
but this. All right, it does have the dual pack thing, but it's Tears of the Kingdom. The breadth of the Zelda fan base is
I'll tell
bigger
you what,
than it ever has been.
If Nintendo next week,
I'm not saying it hits 20 in 6 weeks.
Nintendo comes out next week and says, we're happy to announce that Tears of the Kingdom sold 10 million copies on launch weekend. Forget about it. Forget about it. That's just a Pokemon number.
Thinking, like, okay, so if we're going by like install base and everything, here's some like numbers to go against it because like Pokemon, like I said, like Pokemon is Pokemon. And then here's the thing:
Sure.
I'm a huge Zelda fan, but there's one truth that I have to constantly acknowledge, and I'm constantly reminded of. Right, Zelda is a lot more popular outside of Japan than it is in Japan. Right, and Japan is like a gigantic market. It's like Nintendo comes like straight out of there. Right, so Pokemon was able to sell 10 million in like 3 days, weekend, 5 days, week, whatever. But a really good number to compare that to, but then people will argue, oh, it was during the pandemic, was Age of Calamity sold 3 million copies in a weekend, right? And that is unheard of and impressive for a Warriors title. But that was the plateau though, because like since then it's like like maybe one more million units. But I'm thinking 7 to 10 million copies within the first weekend to week is not unheard of, right? And then we could be surprised. I mean, look, everyone thought that the Super Mario Bros. Movie was only going to make 500 million in its whole run. It cracked the top 5 highest grossing anime movies of all time and the top 25 highest grossing movies of all time, and its run is still not done.
Still climbing.
So and the install base for the Switch is gigantic. So I mean,
125 mil.
I'm saying
even talking about that Japan, it's highly likely that it has crossed that Breath of the Wild has crossed 3 million sales there, including digital in there, because it's already sold over 2 million physical in just Japan. So you sit there and you go, well, okay, this is already like the most popular Zelda game in Japan ever, and now we have a sequel. That potentially could be 3 million customers in the opening weekend.
And it's been at the top of Famitsu for the longest.
Yes. It's been isn't it
ahead
the highest demand, the highest pre-order Zelda game I think in history?
Isn't it ahead of those cards that are always number 1 and 2 on bestsellers on Amazon right now too? I know that's just Amazon, but that's just crazy.
In Japan,
you don't see games get past those cards.
Japan, Tears of the Kingdom, because they have like these weird bundles with spoons and forks and I don't know, but something.
I'm gonna buy them all.
Something Tears of the Kingdom owns 7 of the top 10 spots in Amazon Japan right now. They are going
crazy.
Nuts for this game to a level that you would think this is another Splatoon or another Animal Crossing, and they're like, no, this is Zelda.
I'm glad you brought those up though, because those games appeal more to Japan, right?
Yeah.
But when you take a look at Tears of the Kingdom and how it's changed over Breath of the Wild, its gameplay style might be more appealing to that audience. The whole crafting element, like the building the vehicles and all of that, I think that might help Tears of the Kingdom.
Just look at Minecraft.
Animal Crossing in my Zelda.
Just look at Minecraft. How popular that is. It's massive in Japan. Always in the top 10.
I think this is going to also be like what we saw Breath of the Wild do in terms of appealing to a new audience on that Minecraft conversation. I think that happens again, like double down, because, I see my fiance's younger brothers watching Minecraft content creators like all day, every day, just because it's possibilities. It's like when I was a kid, I would put together Legos because it was like, oh, I can get creative. Like your mind is blown by all the possibilities. I think we see that kind of content for Zelda, and it's going to actually propel like the future generation. We're going to have young and old gamers getting into this thing. It could very well. I mean, the life of it is hard to say, but it could not only pass Breath of the Wild, but it could at least be that new exposure to a new generation of fans in addition to what we already have today, which is like insane uncharted territories for Zelda.
By the way, for those wondering why Darren suddenly dipped out, I guess they lost power.
Yeah.
So,
oh no,
if he gets it on sometime, in the next hour or so.
There's some storms around the U.S. hitting tonight.
Yeah. So we'll see if his power comes back and he gets on. Who knows? Because he said he'll come on if it comes back. All right. So yeah, look, this game I think is going to review very well.
For sure. I do know one thing though. It will never do something. I can almost guarantee you, it will never do something that Breath of the Wild did. outpaced the install base of the Switch.
What?
Ooh, yeah, that was.
Yup.
I mean,
Opening
like,
weekend, it's going to sell
I can almost
127
guarantee
million
you
copies.
It will not outpace the install base of the Switch, sadly.
It's possible.
I mean,
here we go.
Nah.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
hey! It's not plausible. It's
Right.
possible.
Yeah,
Because Zelda fans,
over 100%.
some Zelda fans will buy more than one copy. But I agree. There's no way most Zelda fans are. No, there's no way most Switch owners are going to buy Zelda. Like if 100% of Switch owners are buying Zelda, then yes, but that's not going to happen. So you're right.
No. And how many of those 125 million Switches are broken in a drawer somewhere too? Because for sure some of those are, double dipping.
So does that automatically?
I actually have one over here.
Yeah.
The
So that
fans
just
don't
means
work
that,
anymore.
It happens.
Yeah, I've got two broken ones. I got a version 1 and an OLED broken one over here in the corner.
Jesus.
Well,
we all know that
between
means
these
though
OLED editions that came out, I have too many Switches in the house now. It's insane.
Well, I mean, you don't have to buy
26
them.
hours.
I know, but they get me.
Don't
They
say
get-
that.
Yeah.
Don't say that. Don't say that. I'm trying to sleep tonight. Man.
But look, like I think it's going to review very, very well. Obviously, I don't think it's unrealistic to think it could match Breath of the Wild's review rating. I think a lot of the reviewers maybe just haven't revisited in a long time, and they're going to just be really happy to go back. What I find very fascinating that gives me confidence that the same Hyrule thing isn't going to be a problem is actually those developer interviews. Like if you just go through the three that we have so far, like one, it was deliberate from the very beginning that we are using the same world. They could have went with a different world, and they said we don't want to because there are things we wanted to do here that we couldn't do.
And you know what's crazy about that interview? Like at one part, I think it was part one. Yeah, it was part one, where they said that in the beginning of the marketing, they wanted to make it known that it was the same Hyrule, but then they're like, okay, let's stop saying that, right? Because it is the same Hyrule, but now they start saying this unfamiliar land of Hyrule because there's going to be massive changes to it, right? And I'm like, I like that because I did notice, like, at a point in time where they just stopped saying, like, oh, the same Hyrule. I'm like, I can tell that they were like, okay, see, people are getting antsy, where it's like, oh, if it's the one-to-one Hyrule, people are going to be like, oh, DLC. But then they stopped saying that because they probably noticed the conversation happening online, which I feel is, like, kind of dumb because, like, it's so weird because I've been meaning to like break this down in the video, but I'm just gonna say it here, Nintendo Prime. This is your HMK exclusive, right? Nice. Like I've been wanting to say it so much, but like social media has outright crippled people's ability to discern what is a DLC and what is a direct sequel, right? And I'm so tired of seeing the argument and the conversations like, oh, $70 DLC, $7 DLC. I'm like, yo, y'all don't know what a direct sequel is. Like, this isn't new that games reuse the same world in a sequel in expanding it or changing it. Literally, like, and then people say, oh, it's a Nintendo. This is one comment I saw. I was like, oh, of course, Nintendo would do something like that because, you know, Nintendo fans, Nintendo drones are willing to buy into that. I'm like, yo, have you played Jak and Daxter? Jak 2 to Jak 3? It was the same, like the same city, but then they add the desert on top of it. And of course, like the castle blew up between the events of Jak 2 and Jak 3. I'm like, this isn't new, right? And I feel like the whole, like, you know, meme-tastic conversation was like, oh, DLC. I'm like, yo, that you're not funny. You're not interesting. This is not like some sort of like, if you're just living to be contrarian, like actually look at this world. Like from what we've seen from previews already, the world has changed like massively in parts thanks to the most recent trailers. And then that's without saying the addition of the sky and the addition of the underground. So when people were like, oh, same world, I'm like, same world plus.
Yeah.
And like an asterisk change.
Like a big giveaway too was like you read those interviews and Anuma's like, hey, when we were making Breath of the Wild, you know, I was like, oh, we're not going to be able to fly because he just assumed like, hey, when we're starting this game, we're going to be able to fly in Breath of the Wild. They're like, no, we can't. Like the Wii U just doesn't have the processing to keep it like this seamless thing that we were trying to do. We can't seamlessly go sky to ground, so we're just not going to do it. Then he's like, oh, cool. Well, then I want to dig. And then they all looked at him and said,
like, no!
if we can't go up, we can't go down either. And it just doesn't work. We don't have, like, and people always go like, oh, this game isn't visually more impressive. This game isn't that. It's because if you feel that way, it's because they chose to use the extra processing to Switch to do the very things they wanted to do, or at least Aonuma wanted to do very clearly, and couldn't do in Breath of the Wild. That's why some of the opinions we're seeing out there are that Breath of the Wild is a tech demo. Why? Because this feels like the full realization of what they truly wanted to do with this world and weren't able to. It's kind of like they wanted Skyward Sword to be open world too, but then they just didn't really have the ability to do it. So then Breath of the Wild became this, finally, we have enough power to do what we want, but then it's not really everything we want to do. And now they just said, screw it. We're going to do everything we wanted to do with this world. And we're doing it in this game. I don't know what this means for after this game, but for this game, I don't think they left anything on the table. Everything they wanted to do here, I think they put it in here.
This is
Prediction.
Fujibayashi's like completion because he directed Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, now teases the
show.
And
like
if
a
you
full
look at the
realization,
if you look at the concept art for Skyward Sword, the world was supposed to be a lot bigger and it was supposed to have 4 regions. And then like we couldn't do all that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you guys
it's just like Wind Waker is supposed to be a lot bigger too, and then they had to cut a bunch of content. It's
like,
like,
but Wind Waker was huge though.
Like, I know, but it's like they every time it feels like they had to cut something because they just their vision's too big. And it almost feels like I don't think they cut anything this time. I think they just went for it.
3 gigabytes. Didn't you see? They downsized the game.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there you go.
They cut a bunch.
DLC.
By the way, random prediction. Just kind of thinking about like them doing everything they wanted to do. I'm gonna predict that you can ride the dragons.
Ooh. No,
let's hope. That's awesome.
I don't know if that's something they wanted to do.
I don't. But it's something I want to do.
Yeah, I can see your thought process, and I think that might be a thing because in the latest trailer we saw a link where armor is specifically for Naedra and Elden, and maybe if you could not Elden, Dinral, Naedra and Dinral. Maybe if you wear those armors, you can ride the respective dragon.
I'm going to counter that. I think in true Nintendo fashion, they won't let you ride the dragon, but they will let you craft something that looks exactly like a dragon and ride on that through the sky.
It'll be a rock and sock robot
version. Dragon like glider Fortnite.
It'll glide and everything. Yeah, it'll have waves to it, but it's going to look like a dragon. Real quick on the social media point, I just want to point this out because I do agree. There's a lot of bad takes online, but I also think that we get in the content creator bubble and we forget that that's like 1% of people that feel that way, because like I ran into a random guy at the grocery store at a checkout lane that with the Zelda shirt on, and we had a whole conversation. Not one time did like $70 DLC come up. He's just like, I can't wait for the sequel to Breath of the Wild. I'm ready to buy it day one. Like the general public doesn't, I don't think feels like that, but there's a small minority online that like blast that message out.
I agree in the general public thinking that, but I will also say those like 1% Twitter people, they do exist in the wild. Because I saw that happen at a GameStop when someone was pre-ordering Tears of the Kingdom, and then some random dude out there is like, "You really gonna pre-order DLC?" And I'm like, you know what? I gotta stay quiet. I gotta stay quiet. All right, let me just take my little Funko Pop and go home. I gotta stay quiet. Like,
the funny thing is, I bet you
about to go viral for something.
Yeah, exactly. Totally I'm like, yo, don't I like this?
Someone's busting their phone out, put it on the internet.
I'm good.
I bet you the people complaining still buy the game and have a great time and just don't talk about it after that. That's what's going to happen. Yeah.
All those people complain about, you're still going to buy it. You're still going to buy it.
It's like all those game boycotts. We're all going to boycott Call of Duty. And then you check the boycott list and everyone's playing the new Call of Duty.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it.
That's what it is.
On the note of DLC, I think I heard that the Monster Hunter Sunrise sold like almost 5 million or something, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, so yeah. No, Monster Hunter is...
that's Capcom's moneymaker right now.
But the DLC selling half of half, like that.
Capcom just like posted like their best quarter ever. Like, that because that's slapping right now. Resident Evil is slapping for him right now.
I'm so happy for Capcom. Like, man, there was once upon a time when people were looking at Capcom, they like, yo, what you doing? And then they come out with the RE engine and like, let me show you.
They were in their Wii U phase and now they're in their Switch phase.
They are feeling themselves.
Outside of Nintendo, they're my favorite company for gaming.
That RE engine, that is coveted technology.
That's one of the best decisions they made. Sometimes companies mess up. Hello Frostbite engine.
Hello Luminous engine.
Yeah, lots of them. We could just go down the list.
Yeah.
and sometimes they get it right. And as an example, whatever engine, I don't know what they call it for Zelda, they got it right. Whatever engine, RE engine, they got it right. Every now and then they get it right, and it's awesome.
For the most part, Nintendo doesn't really reveal their engines. It's like a lot of proprietary engines that they make for random games.
Yeah.
And then if this is using Unreal, this is using Unreal. If it's ours, it's so funny because up until Breath of the Wild, I was doing a lot of research on this. So up until Breath of the Wild, it was first. This is the beginning of the story. Super Mario 64 engine, Ocarina of Time, heavily modified Super Mario 64 engine.
Yep.
Majora's Mask. Modified Ocarina of Time engine. Wind Waker, heavily modified Majora's Mask engine. So on, and it went all the way to Skyward Sword.
That Mario 64 engine, you guys don't realize that lived on for decades, man.
Yeah,
that just kept going.
And Skyward Sword was the last one, and then they made a new engine for Breath of the Wild, in which they still use assets from Skyward Sword for that game.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, Nintendo, those long-term investments paying off for them. Keep upgrading.
So I didn't put this on the list, but we can actually talk about it because thank you for your Q&A. We have themed dungeons. Are we happy?
Yes.
Very.
That's the best confirmation, because I want to say just real quick, I'll let anybody else talk, but oh my God, I have successfully avoided everything to my knowledge online out there. And so when I saw the official confirmation from Nintendo that themed dungeons are back, that's huge for me. That's all I care about. That's what I wanted. It's huge.
I have only read part 3 and part 1. I refuse to read part 2 because someone told me, it's hey, HMK, I don't know if you want to read part 2 because it contains spoilers. And I'm I am not reading part 2. So if you guys are going to talk about the part 2 interview, ask the developer thing, I'm gone. So we can talk about part 1 and part 3. That's it. And yes, I am so glad for dungeons. Yes.
So don't get into hands.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that licking hand shit. Don't talk about that one. Don't talk about that one. Don't talk about that one. Don't talk about that one.
Oh, man.
Someone told me,
there's some good stuff in that one.
Exactly. People are you may not want to read this one. And
I didn't get yelled at for that one. I got yelled at for talking about dungeons, apparently. So.
I'm waiting for HMK to go, don't talk about this, and the whole list is from the second topic.
No.
He read the whole damn thing. It's no, you can't talk about this, and this.
No. It's just part 2.
Just part 2. It's okay. We can avoid part 2.
Right.
We're on dungeons right now.
We don't have to talk about that. It's fine. But I'm kind of curious though, because where do we draw the line? Because I'm not going to say what was in part 2. And there is something cool in part 2.
There is.
I don't know. It's just a me thing. It's not don't talk about it. It's just. But I rather not.
For example, though, right? Let's say I did make a video on it, but I didn't make it. That wasn't in the title or thumbnail. But what if I just decided not to cover the Q&A and just the one thing in there that I thought was really cool, and I put that in the thumbnail and the title.
No, go for no. By all means, it's officially released information. This is just a meme.
Yeah, it's just a youth thing.
Yeah. This is what I like. HMK knows it's hey, dude, if it's officially released by Nintendo, that's open season. Go for it.
I'm not gonna look at you weird for hey, why?
Oh you spoiled this thing for me in your title. It's okay. Context matters. I didn't watch and get the context. I'm good.
I think we're at the season
that's why I mentioned hands. I'm he clearly knew hands are a thing.
We're at the season.
He's just not going to know the context of it.
No, I'm using Google Chrome. Google Chrome extensions where it eliminates all thumbnails on YouTube. And then there's also extension where a video's title, it only will have the first 2 words, and then unless I hover over it, then I'll have the full title. So
that's
I am
there you go. Now that's how you avoid spoilers.
Yeah, to back you guys up on that, I think if you're a Zelda fan right now and you really want to avoid everything, you want to go in totally blind. You can't. You got to take the responsibility on yourself. Nintendo's going to promote the game. They're going to answer questions that people have. You have to just do your own process. Those Chrome extensions are genius. That's what you should be doing, or just stay online altogether until Friday.
Bro, people are complaining about the dungeon confirm.
Yeah,
saying that why are you spoiling? Why are you spoiling? And I'm
send a letter to Nintendo because they're the ones that spoiled it then.
They
Yeah.
How about
on
Nintendo
Twitter with the headline,
Yeah.
Dungeons are back.
How about Nintendo knows that there are more people out there concerned the dungeons may or may not be in the game and that might choose not to buy it over thinking they're not back.
Right.
So let's throw it out there versus the amount of people who want to just go in blind. I mean, if you're going 2 days before the game, you're 1 day before the game, you're going to start to see more and more information. I think it's fair game. You just have to be offline if you don't want to see anything else until you play through it.
Yeah.
Set up those blocked words.
Yeah, y'all gotta. I have been saying this too, man. I've been throughout so many games that people were like, spoilers. I'm like, listen, y'all need to take it upon yourselves at that point. All right.
It was just so fascinating to me earlier today because I made the video and I said Nintendo just confirmed Dungeons. Nintendo just confirmed, but I got like massive dislikes to start the video, and there were comments saying, "How dare you spoil this?" And I was like, "Wait, I didn't. Nintendo did." So it's like, whatever. But I mean, people, whatever. Everyone has different opinions.
Dungeons
Nintendo
are back.
releases an official. Wait, Nintendo official.
Get angry, chat. Dungeons are back. I want to see the anger. Let's go.
Nintendo officially reveals an image, an official release image, puts it in a thumbnail. Why are you spoiling, bro?
That's the internet.
Yeah,
Right.
It's like look. Here's the thing. When people talk about the spoil, I'm just gonna throw this out. This is the thing I hate about that minority of people that are gonna complain. If you think what Nintendo puts out is spoilers, why are you following a fan channel that covers Nintendo? Because we are more likely to probably do extra spoilers than Nintendo is. So why would you follow us? Makes no sense.
I got a funny, like, I constantly talk about this story, man. People in the chat, or like, I'm not even reading the chat right now because I know the chat could be getting wild.
Yeah,
right?
I told them not to
people
spoil
in the
things.
chat,
My mods are trying so hard to shut down everything.
people in the chat and then people online and stuff, when they say, "Oh, why content creators spoiling this? Why Nintendo spoiling this?" I'm like, y'all don't know spoilers. I got Breath of the Wild early from Nintendo, and I was given an embargo packet. This thing had 10 pages, and I had to read that thing front to back in order to make content. And in that embargo, spoiler. I'm like,
the embargoes always have spoilers,
man.
They always
don't talk
have
about
spoilers.
this. And I'm like,
when you're a content creator to get review copies or going to demo events, guys, you don't understand the level of spoilers we get. Nintendo and other companies, they just straight up tell you like major plot points in the game because you have to, and to be fair, they sort of have to do it because when you're doing the embargo coverage, you have to know where you have to stop talking and how can they tell you before you find out. Like, they just have to straight up tell you.
Yep.
So
I guess if you get a review code though, right? Could you, in theory, I haven't done this before, so I don't know. But if you get a review code, can you just play through the game, don't post anything publicly, then read the embargo? That way you're not actually
if you're
spoiled.
only going to review the game, I would say you go down and look at you can kind of scroll to the bottom and see when the review embargo review date is. And then you could just play the game and then check the embargo after to see what you can't talk about. But a lot of times the embargoes will allow you to do previews. They'll allow you to do uploaded footage, first impressions. And if you have that review copy as a content creator, you probably want to take advantage of every opportunity you have to create content around it. So chances are for the best part of what you're doing for a living, you probably want to read through it.
Then specific parts of the embargo have their own specific dates. Whereas like, you can post previews, like Nate said, you could post previews during this time, but then don't talk about this until after this time. So they actually have like specific dates. Like I couldn't even talk about like Inventide Island. I couldn't talk about the dragons. I couldn't talk about Lynels or the Yiga clan until like a week after the game came out.
That's so interesting.
Right. Yeah. So I'm like, and then that's what's spoiled to me. I'm like, what's a Yiga clan? What's Inventide Island? Oh, Lionel's are back. That's great. Thanks. Like that. So
and the Lionels and the Dragons were some of the greatest surprises when I played Breath of the Wild. Like I was so amazed that I didn't know about that until I got the game. Like that was just special.
Yeah, there was a lot
about dragons, but they were like, oh, but we can't really see them. And then you find them like, oh my god.
Yeah, they just pop up and you're like, oh, what is this?
My first encounter was a Nadra one. I was like, oh, I'm gonna die. It's so intimidating. We don't know what it's gonna do.
Yeah. It turns out it's not that bad, but you don't know that at the time. The
hey
first
man,
time,
don't
you're like,
spoil it. Some people haven't played Breath of the Wild yet.
Sorry.
Whoops.
My bad, guys. I just beat Master Mode on it. I'm sorry. I don't.
Did
not
you
all
really?
of you have done it. Yeah.
Oh,
Just pull it off on Monday. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I took out Calamity Ganon like in one try, and I was like, I haven't taken him out in like 5 years. I'm like, maybe I'll die. I don't know. No.
do Trial of the Sword.
No. I made mistakes and I still
Now,
confess that.
tonight.
No, I did. No, not yet. No, I'm not gonna get through that.
I'm doing it with 3
I
hearts.
did 5 straight live streams trying to go through Trial of the Sword. It just,
Trial of the Sword on Master Mode is torture. Like, especially that one stage. You guys know, if you guys played it in the chat, that one stage in Trial of the Sword, y'all know.
There's
Those
this one
stupid
stage where you have to
lizards.
fight an army, which is just kind of cool. But yeah, I'm
That is
actually
cool.
doing it with 3 hearts. Master mode 3 hearts.
In Trial of the Sword?
Well, I want to, but I don't have time.
Oh, okay. Oh,
That's
that's
a-
just the game
yeah.
in general. All right.
Yeah.
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 No, that's insane.
he says that. All right, guys, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Let's do Trial of the Sword. Just one time, 3-heart run. If I die, I die.
Yeah, but if I die, I'll try again.
Yeah, that's the problem.
One shot the first
You're
time.
just- you're just
Damn
like,
it!
dude. I just died on the first stage. No, we ain't going out
right.
like that. We ain't going out first stage. Let's go.
I mean,
I
if you
killed
can get to, if you
myself.
can get to the great fairies, to the fairies, then you might be able to pull it off. I think.
I mean, people have pulled it off 3-heart in Master Mode. It's been done, but
Yeah, I'm sure it has, but it's
I mean, you watch some of the
That's
people
rough.
though that do it, like they are doing moves I can't even imagine.
Mm-hmm.
They have mastered everything.
Yeah.
Every like minute frame of a glitch of a thing you can pull off. It's insane.
I can do some of those things, but not to that extreme level.
Yeah, they're like, I don't even know how they do it. I don't know if they
Yeah.
just got it like saved on a turbo button
Yeah.
on their.
Yeah,
I don't know what they're doing.
Those people are a whole other level. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like launching guardians like a mile into the sky. Like it's just nuts.
Nah.
Yeah. All right. So I guess to round out this Tears of the Kingdom topic, what's our final hopes and dreams? Because this is it. The game's going to be here. So now we get to see if it's realized. So what do we got? What's our final hopes and dreams for this game?
Dual wielding.
Ooh.
Dual wielding.
I like that's the only thing I'm left for want in this game. Dual wielding. If I don't get it, whatever. But I mean, yeah, that's I guess.
I want it. I want
They're pretty
to
cool.
spin around. I want to be Urbosa with the 2 swords spinning around. Let's go.
I'm just gonna say for me real quick, it's just the fine. I hope that the final encounter with Ganondorf or whoever that is ends in as epic of a moment or close to as Wind Waker with the sword straight through. I mean, I want something. I
Wind
want
Waker and
that
Ocarina
payoff.
of Time to me have like the best.
Both of them, yeah, to be
Yeah.
fair. But oh my, I want that payoff feeling when the credits roll. That just that's what I want at the end of it. Incredible story, and I want that final clash to feel so freaking special. And I actually hope it's not against like a beast version, even. Like I would rather it.
Now
just
we got
be-
that in Breath of the Wild. Done.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
done.
I don't think
No
we
more.
get that again.
Please.
So
I mean,
those
maybe
are
a
my.
demise version possibly, but I don't think we get
Yeah.
a beast version. I do think that for that final fight, I just want whatever the final fight is, however it ends, I just want it to be one of the most difficult fights in the game.
Yes, that too. That's a good point.
Period.
Yep.
Like, look, maybe the Gleeoks are really hard, or the new Lionels that we haven't really seen in action yet are super hard, or there's some other really hard enemies in the game.
Dark nuts.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Maybe they're back. I don't know. But when I get to the final fight, I don't care how geared up I am, how many hearts I have. I want to know that he can kick my fucking ass.
Yeah, buddy.
That's
He's
it.
got that katana, man. He's about to go Virgil.
Yeah,
on
I
him.
want to know. Like, look, give him a move that doesn't matter if he hits you with a one shot. Oof. I want that. I want that difficult. Like, I don't know. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be like a one shot. It's just I want
10 hearts a hit.
Yeah, sure. Like, I just want it to be a hard fight. And
Right. You want to
it
feel
hasn't
a threat.
always been hard throughout Zelda history, that final fight, but there's been moments when it has sort of been up there. I would argue Wind Waker was one of those ones where that fight was kind of up there a little bit because nothing was really super hard fight wise in Wind Waker anyway. So that fight kind of felt right in with some of the harder ones. I would like to see that here. Like, let's say a Gleeok, let's say that's one of the hardest, the 3-headed dragon. Cool. I want it to be harder than that then. Like, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how many stages there'll be because Zelda's known to have multiple stages in the final fight.
At least three.
Yeah,
please.
but I just,
three.
Rule of three.
And the final stage better be the hardest. I'll throw that out there too. I'm tired of the final stage being the weakest. Like, get the shot here.
You know,
I hate the victory lap. Let the victory lap be the credits.
man.
The victory
I don't
lap
like
should be the
victory
end
laps.
cutscene.
Or post game if you want to do that.
Yeah.
So you know what I like in certain video games that do it, and one big example is Tales of Vesperia, where if you do certain things in the game, you can unlock a super harder third round fight against the final boss. And for those that didn't play Tales of Vesperia, so like the final boss, Duke, his name is Duke. He has 2 stages regularly, and if you beat the game and you beat him with the 2 stages, the game just goes on and whatever. Right. But then the third stage that he can get, you have to unlock. And that's something that, like, you know, it won't affect the story, but it's something even extra. And then you unlock an item after that. Right. And the way you do that is by finding what's known as the devil arms, which is like a thing within the Tales game. If you find out the devil arms and then you go into that fight with them not equipped, but in your inventory, you do the first 2 fights. And then there's a third fight that's unlocked afterwards because he senses your weapons and he gets even stronger. And then, like, that's like one of the hardest fights in all of Tales, and like it's really satisfying. So I'm like, yo, if Tears of the Kingdom does that, that'd be cool. I'm just saying.
I have the perfect way they could do that in mind. Like, so I'm combining Breath of the Wild and Ocarina of Time here, right? So you know how in Breath of the Wild, to get the extended ending, you have to get all the memories,
right?
And
Masters.
Right. So you do all that to unlock the harder boss fight. And so maybe there's a 3-phase boss fight. So you know, like how in Ocarina of Time, you fight Ganondorf, he shuts down the tower, you have to escape, and then you meet with Zelda for a brief moment. The game could have like gone to the credits. That was basically like when Zelda asked Link in Breath of the Wild, "Do you remember me?" And they could cut to the ending. But if you unlock the final sequence, instead of it cutting to the ending with like a romantic or kind of question, they hear that question happens. But instead of it kind of fading out at the end, they hear a sudden sound, and then he just blows out of the rubble, and then it's like that final
rips through the credits,
super hard fight.
Yo,
it starts rolling the credits, and he slices through the credits and starts coming back after you.
Hades, Kid Icarus Uprising.
Yeah, Kid Icarus.
Yeah,
I would like exactly what Andres said. And the final fight that comes out, like, oh, Ganondorf is like dead, but then he comes back as false god Ganondorf from Twilight Princess, like the big flame head. I'm like, I always wanted to fight that in Twilight Princess, but I never got to. So I'm like, oh.
Yeah. So one of our super chatters brought up, that they would like there to be stakes to the final battle, like they mentioned specifically Final Fantasy VI with the world-ending stakes. I find that to be a fascinating thing because we had that, I feel like, one time in Zelda history, and that was like Majora's Mask.
Right.
Like, you fail, you see the world end. You don't really get that. You just get a game over screen and every other thing, and then you just get to do it all over again. It would be neat if there was some sort of stakes tied to it, just to be like, if you do fail, there is something that happens after.
Yeah, Banjo-Kazooie.
yeah, Banjo-Kazooie too.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a really good one too. So that would be cool if they decided, hey, it is something they've done before. Other games have done it. It would be cool if they did it here as well. I mean, if they would have did it in Ocarina of Time, it might have also helped with the whole split timeline crap too. But we're going to leave that alone.
In the remake, that'll be addressed.
Let's just have the Blood Moon
you know what? Here's the
Hyrule
thing.
and be good.
If they ever remake Ocarina of Time in full HD, I do think they will throw in something that addresses the third split. Yeah. There'll be something where if you die in the final fight, there'll be some sort
We'll
of
get it
cutscene.
3.5 years from now because we're going to have to wait 7 years for the game after Tears.
Here we go. Just
say that.
Yeah.
I'll will into existence.
And what's interesting too is this other guy, Super Chad Noddle here. He said he's really hoping for a true post game. That's kind of true too, because like it doesn't feel like Zelda's ever had a true post game in most instances. It's just like, hey, just go back in the world and do the okay. I said most instances, not every instance.
I consider Wind Waker to have like a post game a little bit.
Okay.
Because like if you play the game again, you get to hear all of Ancient Hylian is translated.
That's right.
So you get that extra.
Really? I didn't know that part.
Yeah, if you play it over again,
and you're in Link's pajamas.
Yeah, I'm not even
Link's
someone who
pajamas.
replays, and I knew that. Oh man.
Yeah, when you
it's got replay. I replayed that game when I was a kid. That's why.
Yeah.
I never replay it the second time. I just replay it years later.
Yeah.
From scratch.
So
so it's all reset. Yeah.
whenever Valo and Jabu would talk, you actually understand what they're saying.
Understand
That's
the
really
conversation.
cool.
Yeah.
But what they could do, and hopefully will do, maybe even in Tears of the Kingdom, but at least one day, is to make another Dark Souls reference. If they did like a new game plus style, like you can beat the game as many times as you want, and the difficulty slowly gets up higher and higher, like the enemies start getting slightly harder, like it just ramps up a little bit each time, but your weapons also get stronger and certain things you can find are stronger. That would create so much incentive in an open world game like that to just continue to go through it and find new things. And then like you don't lose all your stuff, like your items and certain things that you unlock throughout the game will reset, but as far as your core character and your build, you'll like roll forward into New Game Plus with that. If they could pull that off, I think that would be excellent in a Zelda game.
Yeah, I at least think that there's going to be master mode unlocked after beating the game.
I hope
yeah,
so.
for sure.
I hope they don't put that in DLC again.
Well,
yeah,
that's a good point. It could
that's
be
one thing
DLC, but I hope
I
they
didn't
don't.
like that, and no.
Yeah,
please don't.
Do you guys? That's a quick question. Do you think that DLC is a lock for Tears of the Kingdom? Or
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah?
Okay.
I think
don't
they're
know.
just going to wait a little bit so they can tie it into the next system. But yes,
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I can see them waiting
they
because
could
last
resell it.
time, because for Breath of the Wild, they already announced it by now. So I do think that there is maybe let's wait a little bit. We'll ride this for this year. Whenever the new system's coming, we'll announce the DLC with that. I think that because they also could announce with that DLC, hey, if you have the new system included in the DLC, will be the upgraded 4K pack or whatever.
And they could release a complete edition, you
like,
know,
yeah, like
and
Legendary
resell it.
Edition.
Yeah,
Definitely will do that. I'm sure. So I do think they might just wait a smidge because at most the new system is probably next year at the latest, at least at this point that we have information on. That being said, that's
is that a segue? Yeah.
There it is. There's the
feels like a good segue.
the segue. And hey, I didn't start that segue. Oh, someone else did. Anyways, so then our second topic is just the future of the Switch and then the future of their next platform, which obviously we don't know what their next platform is. But Nintendo had their financial results, and Shigeru Furukawa came out and was like, "Yeah, we're going to sell, 15 million this fiscal year." Oh, really? Well, we're really not that confident that we're actually going to sell 15 million. I don't think we're going to do it, but that's the number we're putting out there. I'm paraphrasing here, but Furukawa basically sounded the most shaky I've ever heard somebody sound when they say we're going to sell 15 million. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that last year they said they were going to sell 21 million, and then they revised to 20, then they revised to 18, and they technically didn't even hit that. So I think it's a lot of hey, we know we're going to sell less. We don't really know how far down it's going to go. We're going to just throw 15 out there, and we're going to hope that we hit 15. We're probably going to revise this in the future. And he made some weird note, by the way, to try to spin it to be positive no matter what, where he said, if we sell 10 million, no Nintendo system's ever done that in year 7. And I sat there and I'm like, you're going to try to make this sound positive no matter what happens, aren't you, buddy? Aren't you, buddy? Anyways, he obviously knows what's coming and what's in the pipeline. But what's interesting actually was on top of that, people asked him, hey, like in your 15 million, does that include a new system? Like, was it a Pro or 2? Because, it could be called Switch and it'd be the same family. It could be the 15 million. He's like, we are not, paraphrasing here, we are not counting any unannounced hardware in our current sales projections for Switch, which does not mean what many of the headlines ran with. No Switch this year. Like, that's not what he said. He said he's not counting any unannounced hardware in their current projections. Nintendo's never counted unannounced hardware in their current projections. It's never happened in history. He's just repeating what Nintendo's always done. He didn't actually say whether there will be or not. But what got conflated was because Bloomberg quoted a Nikkei Asia article in their report on this, and Nikkei Asia said they're the ones that gave like an update. We're like, hey, this thing's actually progressing really well, this next Switch. Also, it's not going to come out until after April of 2024. And that's what Nikkei was hearing from not even someone who works at Nintendo, someone close to Nintendo, which typically means manufacturing.
Question. Did they say, because I read an article on Nikkei and Bloomberg, maybe this is my revisionist history in my brain, but I thought they said spring and not specifically April. Or was there another part that said specifically April?
Yeah, there was a part that said specifically April 2024.
Yeah. Okay.
But that doesn't really matter. I want to grab the exact Shintaro Furukawa quote here just to make sure I'm not misquoting him. Let me see here. It was where do we go here? He said no new or upgraded hardware is factored into Nintendo's annual forecast, which is exactly what Nintendo does every single time. So they could have a new system come out, but it's just not counted right now. Why would they put that in their forecast at the moment? Because that would just be telling everyone it's coming.
Yeah, and then like, oh, you should wait and buy this instead of buying the thing.
Yeah. So they can't. For like many different reasons, they can't. And the wording's important because, people always tell us Nintendo can't lie to investors. You're right. They can't. So they carefully word things. This wording sort of just leaves the door wide open. Oh, they might drop it this year if they feel like they need to, is what the wording sounds like. But that kind of gets into this whole conversation. Like, what is the future of the Switch? And when the hell is this thing coming? Because now it's just... we're kind of entering unknown territory. Nintendo's at Gamescom this year. They are now saying that, hey, they're trying to tie PAX West into their Nintendo Live thing, mentioning again that there's going to be game demos there. Okay, so they clearly got games coming. And then we have that whole Jeff Grubb and Andy Robinson going out there being like, hey, there probably isn't a direct this June. Like, what the hell's going on? Thoughts? I don't know what's going on.
Well, you said I didn't see this report until you said it. So Nate the Hate's now saying Prime 4 is likely coming out this year.
Yeah, that's what he's heard.
Yeah.
But
right. Well, I mean, if that's happening, right? I've been talking about it for a while. I think Prime 4 is going to get a big push from Nintendo. I think they want to push it up another tier, right? So they may want to pivot it as there'll probably be like another like more casual game side by side with it, but they may want to push it as like the big core game for the holiday. And if that's the case, and there is no Switch 2 this year, then they're going to want to market the hell out of that. Market it at Gamescom, market it at PAX. Like they may be pushing that throughout the year to make sure maybe it's like the best selling Metroid, That's one possibility. The other possibility is that Nikkei's just wrong and Switch 2 is coming out this year and they're announcing it this summer. But if the Nikkei is pretty reputable, so I feel I don't think I should be like, I think Nikkei is wrong. Like they're pretty reputable.
They've been wrong though. When it comes to release timing, they've been really off sometimes. They were also one of the people that said Switch Pro was coming 2 years ago. So they got caught with their pants down on that too. So it's one of those. Nikkei's not 100%. Here's the thing: Nikkei always has sources at manufacturing. But what we found out with manufacturing sources is they don't really know the release date of products. They just know their schedule on what they're doing to manufacture products. So
when they have to get them ready by.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, it's not going to be by them because their contacts at one manufacturer aren't ramping up till maybe the end of the year. Okay. That doesn't mean other manufacturing plants weren't ramping up this entire time and their contacts weren't aware of that. So that's kind of where Nikkei sometimes gets caught up. But it is nice to hear like progressing well sort of means like they're pretty far along with whatever this next device is. Like progressing well sounds like we're ready to mass produce eventually here.
I also find it hard to believe there's not another Mario game coming out this year.
I feel like there's got to be.
Yeah, that gets to those Zippo rumors now. Zippo says there's 4 Mario games.
That was one thing.
Good old Zippo. Good old Zippo.
I do tend to believe personally the Nikkei report more. I think Furukawa's like that. It was funny how that whole story got conflated, and you literally saw like massive headlines
even
saying
IGN
like Nintendo.
Messed up
IGN
messed up the headline saying Nintendo said
no new hardware.
No, they didn't.
It was bad.
Come on, this is basic research. You didn't even read the Bloomberg article correctly where they said it was Nikkei.
Yeah, that was wild. Someone close to Nintendo.
Breath of the Wild.
The headline is that Nintendo says so. That was messed up in and of itself, but I've kind of been in that mindset since Tears of the Kingdom came out, because we all had this conversation months and months back. Tears of the Kingdom, there's no more powerful Switch, there wasn't a new console announced alongside of it. Kind of didn't feel like holiday 2023, just like 6 months plus after that game comes out is when you drop a new console. I almost feel like it would have launched the new console if it was that close to it. Spring next year, though, however, I do think it's at least time to know what's going on with it, if not actually have it in our hands. And then I also think that an announcement makes a ton of sense this year, maybe 6 months before it comes out, which would kind of shoot Nintendo in the foot for holiday sales, but not necessarily for casual gamers, just people like in the know with knowing that a new Switch is on the way. So they still capitalize on certain holiday sales, especially, and maybe I think there's translations now coming out that are saying like they're not planning a price drop. But I figure announce your new Switch, but then do a price drop to the current lineup of families of systems over the holiday season, and you still sell everything just fine.
Yeah,
they might not do that, but I do think they have to have software, and that's where I was going to say the 2D Mario. I think a 2D Mario makes sense to come out on the current Switch at the holiday season and be a holiday game, and hopefully Metroid Prime 4, but I don't know. I'm not as confident in that.
Yeah, you pair those two together, you throw some Pokemon DLC in.
Yeah,
Mario Kart
you still have a solid closeout of the
and
year.
Maybe like a remaster from GameCube and call it a day.
Right. F-Zero GX finally, maybe.
Yeah, Thousand-Year Door, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah,
but
that one's rumored.
I do think they
the Donkey Kong game has been rumored for like 3 years.
Donkey Kong, it's totally real. It is totally happening. I'm just kind of like, I don't know if they save for Switch 2. That's just kind of like
I think they can do some smaller releases towards the end of the rest of this year on the current Switch, and then just come out guns blazing in spring next year. I mean, I think that's what happens, and we see the 3D Mario, we see the big Odyssey 2 or whatever it ends up being called, and maybe even a Donkey Kong that's going to come out a few months after, and then maybe I don't know. I feel like Metroid Prime 4 comes out on the new Switch at this point, but I mean, who knows?
I mean, Tears of the Kingdom, you would have thought they would have done something with that, but it depends on how they're marketing the system. Like there's so many different variables. Here's something that's weird to me. All right, and correct me if I'm wrong, but March 2021, that fiscal year reporting, they reported 28.8 million sold, right? That was their peak year, the pandemic year.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And then so the fiscal year ending in March 2022, they reported 18 million sold. So they went down. No, 23.
Yeah.
So from 28 to 23, and then to 18, which was recent, right? And so now they're forecasting 15. So there's a clear downward thing happening. It's a downward trend, and it's been for more than 3 years. And they still haven't announced a new system. As far as I'm aware, that has never happened in Nintendo history. So there's this thing going on, but at the same time, what's weird, because where there's this price drop debate, they haven't dropped the price of the Switch yet. And we're 6.5 years in. No, more than that. It's
about 6.5.
We're 6+. We're 6+ years in, right? So we're 6+ years in, no price drop. Yet we're looking at 3 straight years of a downward trajectory in sales, and no system has been announced.
Yeesh.
That is such a weird combination, because Nintendo could do a price drop if they wanted to bolster sales, and they haven't. I think something has to happen. I think price drop. Something happens this holiday.
Here's what I think happened. Right, this is just a theory I've had, and I've had this for a while. When they made this initial deal with Nvidia, they actually made quite a bit of money because there was a bunch of these chips just sitting on a shelf. Because Nvidia went hardcore, thinking the Shield was going to be a big deal, didn't pan out. So Nintendo got this great deal,
a
bunch of chips sitting on the shelf. And that's cool. And that's why the chip that's in the original version 1 Switch is basically identical, modified. It's basically, it just has some stuff turned off and underclocked, but it's basically the exact same chip that was in the original NVIDIA Shield. And over time, what's happened is everyone has moved on to smaller and smaller manufacturing nodes to make more chips per run. And Nintendo is still on this old, I can't even remember, is it 16 nanometer or whatever the hell it is, process that they're using to make these damn things on. And it turns out that where technology usually gets cheaper, in this case it isn't getting cheaper because nobody uses that processing node anymore but Nintendo. And Nvidia themselves, they shut down their own Shield TV and their own, like, hey, we don't use this crap in any of our stuff anymore because it's just too expensive. Why would we not just go to a new processing node? And Nintendo hasn't done that. So I think what's happened is the price of Switches might have actually gone up a little bit. Now you have OLED panels in it. Now the chip price has actually gone up because nobody's making these chips anymore except for Nintendo. And I think it's led to this thing where Nintendo kind of realized, hey, we might actually sell at a loss if we drop the price. And that sounds so insane to think that, but it's like this unique situation with the mobile tech that Every other mobile chip manufacturer is like, we're talking 4 nanometers today, 2 nanometer, 5 nanometer, 8. And they're still like using this really old school, we can only make X amount of wafers per run when everyone else is making triple the wafers per run. And a bunch of manufacturing lines by NVIDIA got shut down. So, and they added a more expensive screen in. Like that just doesn't usually happen either. So I think we're just in this sort of unique situation where Nintendo doesn't think that they, I mean, and something to back this up a little bit. I had a theory about this because we had themed Switches and stuff before, but they didn't really up the price of the Switches. But themed OLEDs, for some reason, they think they could just add $10 more. Right? It's $360, not $350 for themed OLEDs. That's what Splatoon 3 one was. That's what the Pokemon was, and Zelda. And I'm wondering if it's because it's like, hey, we really aren't making that much money on these. Let's just get a little bit of extra profit by taking advantage of some fan bases because the people don't really realize our margins aren't great right now.
You know what's funny? I would arguably like the base OLED more, just because those white Joy-Cons.
Well, the white Joy-Cons are nice. That was the perfect launch by
Yeah.
Metroid too.
They should have sold those standalone. I don't think they do, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you can.
There's a lot of colors of Joy-Cons that don't sell standalone, especially in certain regions. I had to go to Japan to get those red Joy-Cons that went with the
yeah.
Mario Odyssey?
You
with
bastard going to
Odyssey.
Japan. I don't want to even talk about you going to Japan right now.
I'm going to Japan again.
No.
That's
See,
awesome.
and that's again. Listen,
Yeah.
that's again.
Listen, hey, yo, I'm not stopping you from going to Japan.
No, my bank account stops me from going.
Yeah, no, I feel that. No, this stuff. I had to be saving up for that, man.
No, I bet. See, I got 3 kids. I don't know what the savings is anymore.
You could sell one. That's a joke. I would never. That's a joke. I'm sorry.
It's funny they made that kind of joke in Hey Arthur.
Yes, they did. Yes,
Really?
they did.
Wait, did they say Hey Arthur? Not
No,
Hey
not
Arthur.
Hey,
Arthur.
You said Arthur.
Arnold.
No, but I thought it was called Hey Arthur, but it's no, it's Art. It's just
It's
Arthur.
Arthur. It's
The
Arthur.
other thing is
It's
Hey
fun.
Arnold.
It's funny. They got away with the joke back in the day, but now it's a meme because it's like, wait,
Yeah.
what? It's just like that one. It's just like the phone call, whatever that phone call meme was about. Can't do something, and then I can't whistle or whatever.
Oh
And it
yeah,
says,
Peppa Pig. Peppa Pig.
Yeah, Peppa Pig. I can't whistle either, and then they just whistle.
And then
Click. Oh, it's so savage, man. Like you don't even realize how savage some of those old cartoons were sometimes. Anyways, I don't know what's gonna happen here, guys. Like Nintendo's got plans for the rest of this year. I mean, I'm still on the Switch 2 is coming this year train, and I'm not gonna get off it until we get to the next announcement, and it's not that. If they have a direct and it's like, oh, here's a bunch of games for Switch coming, okay, then we're not getting it. But until then, like, oh, I hear, oh, there's no direct in June. Okay, well, I mean, why are we not doing something in June? We got nothing after Pikmin. But you're going to have games at Gamescom and you're going to have games at Nintendo Live. So clearly you're going to have to announce games at some point. Not doing it in June. What are we waiting for? What are you trying to get away from the competitors for some reason? We want to get away from them.
You gotta love
We
that
want our
game's
own
roadmap
time.
slide right now. It's rough.
Like we want our own time. Okay, so what do you need? We don't want to overshadow Pikmin. Okay, so you're gonna wait till after Pikmin. So August. What are we doing? Oh,
Nah.
You're gonna wait. See, I'm just throwing it out there that you know what?
Yeah.
That could be what it is.
Well, let me come back to this part of the equation. Future Redeemed coming out in the way it has. Like they didn't need to do this. I'm rushing. I'm busy, right? I'm a busy person, so I can't play a game for 4 hours a day usually. Like I can't, unfortunately, or I just don't sleep. One or the other. But anyways,
Sleep's overrated.
It's hard for people to finish Future Redeemed in time to play Tears of the Kingdom, and there's a good amount of overlap. Most Xenoblade fans are Zelda fans, so Nintendo put this out there. Why did they put out in April? Right after Advance Wars, by the way, and when people were expecting it not to come out until June, like it wasn't like I think most Xenoblade fans were prepared to play the game at Future Redeemed in June. I was. June is vacant. Why not? Then the only thing I can think is that maybe they were like, well, Tears of the Kingdom is going to come out in May, but it's going to be such a big game that even 4 to 5 weeks later, or even 6 weeks later, it would get overshadowed. Like that's the only thing I can think that would make sense. Besides,
Or
they're clearing their slate.
yeah. See, the other thing is, they're not hearing anything about a direct in June. They don't announce systems and directs.
Mm-hmm.
I also just
throwing
think
out there, it could just be, hey, we're gonna just drop this announcement trailer out of nowhere. No one's gonna know it's coming because unlike last time, we're not gonna tell you it's happening. We're just gonna drop
drop the next system.
It's not really a shadow. I mean, it's a surprise announcement. It's sort of like at the Game Awards when no one was expecting any system to be there, and all of a sudden, here's Xbox Series X and Hellblade 2. Like, it's one of those situations where it's just a surprise. It's like, everyone's doing this cycle. You got Summer Game Fest. Then you get to like the third week of June, and Nintendo's like, boop.
I will
New
say
system this holiday.
It would be nice if they
That would
actually
be crazy.
If they actually pulled like an Apple and it was like, here's the new system, here's all the features, and you can pre-order it right now, and it'll be to you. It'll be at your house in like 2.5 weeks.
The Apple thing is crazy when they do that.
Just like a September, like the direct happens, or no, it would be the other way around. The console announcement happens, then the direct.
I'll tell you this: they announced new hardware. They announced new hardware, guys. I'm going to Nintendo Live and PAX West.
Oh yeah,
I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm going to play it. Screw that. Yeah. I won't wait.
I do believe that the turnaround between the announcement and release is going to be shorter than the turnaround for Switch. It's going to be It's going to be less than 6 months. It might be like 2 to 3.
They don't really need to make it. Like, what is the purpose behind making it 6 months? Like, you get a longer marketing ramp up, but they don't, like, with the user base and the engagement that they have on the Switch.
You take advantage
with NSO. If they say that thing's backwards compatible and your NSO
all
library,
your NSO games playable day one.
Yep.
And by the way, we're gonna launch a new system on their day one or whatever, and we can't run on Switch. I don't know.
GameCube.
Could say GameCube.
GameCube.
They're gonna go. All of our best-selling games are gonna have day one patches to get like 60 FPS and 4K or whatever. And then they're just be like, yeah, it's everything you know and love about Switch, but bigger, better, and now they announce like. Also, then they just do like a sizzle reel of third-party games coming, Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, yada, yada, yada. They just start doing and it's like the new ones, not the old ones. And so it's kind of like, hey, you're going to get all Nintendo games bigger and better than ever, and you're going to get all the third-party games, and that's like their selling point. Instead of it being like, it's as a Wii for you. Dumb marketing. just dumb. They're actually like, no, this is a badass system that makes our games way better. And now we're finally good enough to get all of the other stuff. And we're going to just party rocket for the next 4 years and just take advantage of the Switch momentum.
There's a couple.
That's a dream, of course, by the way. This is Nintendo not falling off the cliff. That's the dream. I kind of feel like if they wait till 2024, they wait till like holiday 2024 and Switch is selling under 10 million.
That's
like to me, they hit the cliff. They hit the cliff.
Their fingernail hanging on the cliff.
They're milking it too long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm not a sales expert, but I also feel like sales experts get it wrong all the time. But my opinion is if it doesn't come out this holiday, they're dropping the ball a little bit.
Yeah, the only way I can give them the excuse is let's say they have the Mario, Metroid, and some killer GameCube game that can actually sell decent this holiday. Fine. If they're launching it early next year, they can get away with the early 2024.
If they also have a price drop, you throw in a price drop there.
Sure, you got to price drop the current Switch with the launch, definitely. Yeah. But that I will say they can get away with that. But waiting till holiday 2024, I feel like you are now doing what they did with Wii, and you're letting it die.
I agree. It has to come. It has to come out early 2024.
At the latest,
at the latest. If not holiday 2023, I'm on board with that. I would rather that, obviously.
Well, I mean, yeah. Look. I'm ready to retire the billions of Switches that I bought and get into something new.
There are the original.
There are some interesting comments, though.
Hey, hold on to that. It's valuable.
From the Q&A investor, they've been translating more of like the exact call and everything. And there was a couple things I was reading earlier, one of which was saying the importance around Nintendo and them focusing on their Switch user base that they have today, and literally like something along the lines of carrying it forward to the new console, that some people are doing the headlines of this more or less is backwards compatibility is going to be there. And I think it's a given. It has to. But then also there was another one that was like talking about how they'll talk about new hardware when they feel like they have the right new creative idea, or like they're focusing on new creative ideas all the time, you know. And so I am like, there's something in the back of my mind that just worries that Nintendo really truly believes at the core of their company that they have to have some new gameplay gimmick for this new system that is different.
We brought glasses free 3D back, everyone.
I'm so afraid that they could get in their own way and mess themselves up. I don't think that they will do it this time. I think they know what they have with the Switch.
Will maybe be like, hey, let's not be dumb. Because look, here's the thing. Furukawa, the number one thing he's been preaching, if you pay any attention to the investors meetings from the moment he took over, was I'm going to do everything I can to not have the cliff happen. I've been here too long. I've seen it happen too many times. No, we are not going to have the cliff happen. But then if you just let the creatives do their creative thing and Miyamoto dance around and be like, dude, we need to make maracas as our next controllers and just all this crazy stuff, and you just blow the fan base you just built up. Like, I just think he's too business focused to be like, no. We're not going to let this happen. I am, I'm not saying they're not smart, but I am business savvy enough to actually look at what the competition has done, mainly PlayStation, to maintain a user base system. That's the one thing we haven't been able to do is maintain. How do we maintain? Mm-hmm. So I think that this particular person will pay attention to that because he's more of a numbers person and might be willing to be like thinking the same thing we do. Hey, when he says 15 million and then he's like shaky on it, like, I don't really think we're actually going to sell 15 million. It's like, then you are admitting it's time, right? Like, you're just admitting right now that it's time, but you're just not announcing. Like, it's time.
So I want to give a thought on that, and then after that, I actually have.
We're gonna be wrapping up. Anyways.
And then my thought is that I feel there's gonna be a middle ground with Furukawa in charge. I feel there's gonna be a middle ground where, like, I would hate for Nintendo's creativity to be limited, because I mean that's like what produces some of the best stuff. Like, when it comes to what the console is capable of creatively wise. So I feel there's going to be a good middle ground where it's going to have a gimmick, whether it be a direct Switch successor or the next console. I think there is going to be a gimmick, but it's going to be tame, like a lot more tamer than what like the Wii U would, like, focus on the asymmetrical gameplay with the gameplay, which by the way was good. It's just I didn't have a lot of software to like back it up. And I feel in itself with the Switch, even though like a lot of people's like, oh, this gimmick is so good, let's like replicate it with tablet gaming and all that stuff. And then, hey, we have two controllers here with the two Joy-Cons, and then they make one controller. Blah, blah, blah. I feel that gimmick is really, really cool. But at the same time, I felt it was a lot tamer in recent years. And that's why a lot of it, like, there's a lot of success behind the Switch, especially considering that it takes a lot of inspiration from both the Wii and Wii U before it. And whatever comes next, I feel is going to lean, like, if we look at the spectrum, it's going to lean a little bit more, just by a smidge, over to the hardcore market. But it's still going to have aspects of, like, that Nintendo weird creativity to it that will allow, Nintendo's own people to get, wild with that, but then not dissuade third-party developers. Like, hey, we can actually put our console games here and not be worried that, like, Call of Duty, what was that one on the Wii? Call of Duty, like, it was Modern Warfare, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare,
World at War.
No. World at War. Yeah.
It was Modern Warfare, but they had this really weird subtitle. No, it was Modern Warfare, but it had a subtitle under it for the Wii version specifically. No, I'm gonna pull this up. And then
I'm like, why get me now that I don't remember?
Reflex Edition?
Yeah, Reflex. There you go. Reflex Edition.
Shout out to Lakeside.
Yeah, Reflex Edition. So, like, if we don't get another Call of Duty Reflex Edition on the Switch, like, oh, we want to put our game here, but we gotta limit it so much to put it on a console. That's kind of weird.
So if Microsoft buys Activision Blizzard, it's supposed to have content parity. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But guys, I gotta be out. Like,
later, man. Go subscribe to HMK, everyone.
Great.
Thank y'all so much. I'll be seeing y'all next. Like, next time you'll hear from me, I'll be in Japan. Later.
Nice.
Have fun, man.
Have fun.
Let's go. All right.
I thought of. Tell me one of those things on how they can. What you guys think about this for an announcement? like they have a direct in June. I know you said they don't do hardware stuff in June, right? Or they don't do hardware stuff in directs. But what it would be awesome is they go through the direct. At the end, they go, here's the one big thing. They announce a big game, and it's a trailer for a big game. But in that trailer, they're playing on the next system. But they don't say anything about it. They just let the people just sit on it. The next day, they drop a video saying, "Did you Eagle guys catch that in the direct? Here's our new system."
I think it's more likely that they would do like a trailer for a big game, but conveniently, there's no Switch reference. There's no Switch logo at the beginning. Like when the official trailer gets uploaded after the event, there's no Switch logo at the beginning with the click. There's nothing at the end. It's just, here's a big game.
That would be a cool, subtle way to do it. I don't think they'll do that because Nintendo's so like
they're more likely to have a little. Oh, look at this new system, and then like there's a new game, like the Mario game, but we didn't announce it yet. But it's teased on the screen. Have a good day, Karen's rooftop partying.
They should do something creative with the announcement of this one, but I guarantee you they're gonna drop a 7 a.m., 8 a.m. trailer out of nowhere. Here's the new Nintendo Switch 2, or here's the brand new console, guys.
They might announce it ahead of time that they're gonna drop a trailer, but I mean, that's what they usually do.
Yeah. It'd be fun to see them do something like that, though, where they show a trailer of the game and it's playing, somebody's playing on it, but they don't say anything about it till like the next day. Then they drop their release trailer, and it's like,
it would be good. You know what this sounds like, Eric? Remember back in the old podcast days, they used to come up with amazing ways
weird theories,
to unveil things, and then
the Goomba system.
Here's the thing: some of it sounded plausible, because he pulled the Wii out of his inside jacket. So, like, who knows what Nintendo's going to do next? They just never really did that again. They did that with like a 3DS or DS and the Wii. One interesting thing, and I like to shoot this stuff down every now and then because I feel like it doesn't give Nintendo credit. Mark Davidson in the chat said Nintendo should just stop making consoles altogether. I don't think they can ever make anything close to Sony and Microsoft. And I'll tell you right now, Sony and Microsoft ain't making anything like Switch, are they?
No, and they wish they were. And they also are not. I mean, Sony has good software sales, but nobody's selling the kind of software that Nintendo's selling. If anybody thinks...
Sony has good software sales. I don't think anything they've sold right now would crack the top 10 on Switch.
No, it's insane. And
level.
Yeah, and what they want to do is sell software, to be clear. Like Sony and Microsoft both are losing money on the console itself, and they're happy to do that because they know you'll buy enough software to make the profit there. Nintendo, for whatever reason, still likes to put out their hardware at a profit, and then if the console's successful, like with the Switch, they're also getting all of the software profit on top of that. So they're winning in all aspects of their business. And now Nintendo Switch Online is becoming 30+ million users, that are actively subscribed. They're getting that ball rolling. They're hitting on every aspect of the business that Sony and Microsoft wishes were popping off for them. And just watch the recent, I mean, I know Sony's got a lot of their business in check with that, but watch the recent Phil Spencer interview. There's a lot of companies out there that feel like they're trying to emulate what Nintendo has done at this level in the current console environment we're in.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I understand wanting like Tears of the Kingdom on a PlayStation 5. I get it. I totally get it. But also, dude, giving let me just speak as somebody who really got back into gaming because of Switch. Nintendo doesn't always get it right.
Yep.
But what they do when they do get it right is provide a system that the other companies won't even dare to attempt. And that system often does something that wouldn't happen in the game industry without it. Whether it's the NES with the D-pad, whether it is the Wii with the motion controls, laugh at it all you want, it created a casual market that has persisted to this day. Maybe they're all on mobile phones now. Don't know, but they started that market.
It was also the blueprint for a lot of other motion controllers.
Motion
with
VR,
for example.
Popularized motion controls. If you love VR, Nintendo kind of popularized that. Now it's weird that Nintendo didn't take advantage of it, and they weren't one of the leading VR companies. But you know what? Nintendo sometimes just is the catalyst.
They tried too early with Virtual Boy and got burned, and never wanted to go back down that road.
And now we got cardboard.
The problem is that VR is expensive. Nintendo is trying to be mainstream.
They're playing around with it though. Those patents. I mean, they're playing around with it. But if they can pull it off at the right price point.
Yeah.
And then you have things obviously like the Switch, which for me, it made console gaming accessible to a dad of 3 kids. I don't get to just sit on a TV and play video games, but I can on Switch. And that's awesome. And it's something that, I'm sorry, Sony and Microsoft aren't providing. I have a PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X or Series S. I like the games. I'm still trying to beat Final Fantasy VII Remastered on my PS5, but I barely have time to sit down at a TV and play games. But I have plenty of time to lay in my bed with Yulia before I'm going to bed playing this. You might go, well, just put it on your TV in your room. It's not the same. Not the same. Like it's just, there's something about what Nintendo does with hardware that while maybe it ain't the best of the best, it's just different. And it's different in a way that ends up being useful. Again, not every generation, but when they hit it, you want a company out there realizing there's more demographics than just the same demographic that the other companies go after time and time again. And just look at, well, some of this wouldn't be the same for Nintendo. Look at how hard Microsoft struggles to compete head to head with Sony, trying to do the same thing. And so now they're going subscription service based for everything. Then you have Nintendo going, hey, we have the IP to go head to head. Also, we don't want to go head to head. We don't want the same market. We want to find that user out there that can't game, but now can because of what we did.
And
so
I want to add on to that real quick to your point with whenever Nintendo figures something out, sometimes the other companies try to emulate it in a certain way. And I think we know they figured something out with this hybrid concept. Two different things. One, we saw Microsoft and Sony actually try to copy motion controls with Kinect and PlayStation Move in the Wii era. And then two, right now, the biggest reason that the CMA, right, that officially blocked the Activision Blizzard merger, it's their concerns over cloud gaming. It's not even about Call of Duty. It's the fact that they realize that 5 years from now, when latency is not a thing anymore and people can just play on whatever device they want, that is going to attract the masses at a different level. And the Switch is giving us that today, where we have AAA games that can be natively played without latency wherever we are at. And that's what they were first at that. Even though it's not cloud technology, they were first delivering that experience to the user.
Yeah.
You know, that's just Nintendo just hitting it out of the park. They flop sometimes with their crazy creativity, and then sometimes they just hit a home run, and that's where they're at right now with Switch.
Yeah, I just hope that Nintendo doesn't make a mistake in the sense of they go back. I think that they've struck gold here. I would like to think they understand that, and that they're going to do what it takes to maintain that. And I'm concerned that waiting too long will ruin that a bit.
Yep.
On the flip side, I say that, but they're still selling pretty strong software. But I think even their software sales have dipped a bit, right? Or am I mistaken in that? I know okay. I didn't look at all the numbers. I know that their overall profit has gone down a bit. Is that just because of dipping hardware sales, or is software sales also dropping a bit?
I didn't look at their overall number on software other than just what they put out on that main slide. But I do know that the games, I mean, Splatoon being already over 10 million, plus you have, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, still very recent releases at 20.
They're still selling super strong.
I mean, they're selling incredible. And Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 8+ million copies sold. Like, that's ridiculous.
58 million.
Yeah. That is insane.
I mean, you're getting up to Grand Theft Auto territory, which isn't supposed to be possible for a console exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, not throw in the Wii U sales. No, it's just 70 mil. What are we talking right now? Like, like
crazy.
Mario Kart's is going to outsell the PS5.
I happily bought Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U in 2014 with no clue that that would be a 10-year supported game from Nintendo that would ultimately be the most successful on the Switch. That's just mind-blowing.
It is pretty crazy.
And they're still selling it at $60.
8 million copies at $60.
Granted, they package it in for the holidays, but it's selling outside the holidays.
I thought that too. Like you see it in quarters
come out, it's in the top 10. You're not even surprised.
Yeah, you see it when it's not attached to that, and it's still doing those numbers. Like it's just there's that amount of people that
it's always
hovering
in that top 15 on the eShop, and
which that also sets up whatever is next for the next generation console. They have a killer app when they come out with Mario Kart, whether they brand it 9 or 10.
Dude, the hype around the next Mario Kart is going to be massive.
It's going to be next level.
There's going to be more people looking forward to that than ever before.
No doubt.
So
yeah.
And the expectations, though, they put the bar pretty high.
Oh, they better not drop the ball.
But you know what? I don't care. You guys have had a decade to make a new one. You've had the time. Yeah. You've had the time.
Mario Kart Ultimate. Let's go. Switch to launch title. Just expand the library.
Oh my gosh! Ultimate. Every track ever released. Yep. Oh, and by the way, we added 50 new tracks on top. Oh, and we've added 20 new playable characters on top. Oh, every multiplayer mode we've ever done is just.
They almost need to do that to keep up with where the
hype will be. It's kind of crazy because you look at some of their biggest games. It's going to be tough for Nintendo with a normal development cycle to one up Super Smash Bros. Ultimate to now one up Tears of the Kingdom.
Like, I think Mario Kart 8 could still be one upped.
I think I believe it can, but if you account for all the content included with the booster course pass,
but if they look at it as we don't have to deliver booster course pass level of content with it, we only have to deliver 50 tracks or 48 tracks. Then they might go because they'll just say we just set it up that we'll add more with DLC. We created a DLC trend.
They could do it like Splatoon where they promise 2 to 3 years of support or something.
Yeah. Where and then that guarantees there'll be DLC. So then they can launch with what Mario Kart 8 had at the beginning of this generation, where it already had a DLC pack. But okay, now you're looking at something a bit more reasonable.
48 is still an insane to start with because the previous precedent was 32. Like that was and that hasn't always been 32. Like I think they used to be like, let's just do 8. The 8's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, or is it 16?
I don't know. Either way, okay, the new precedents, you got to launch with 48. Okay, well, I mean, they've had the time to do that. So,
but they've also been, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a separate team, but I mean, they've been making new tracks.
They've been making new tracks. They also work on another series that Nintendo does. But, I mean, I can't imagine they haven't been thinking about what's next for Mario Kart 8 since Mario Kart 8 came out.
They have to. Yeah. Mario Kart's arguably their most important game.
It for sure would have been out.
Animal Crossing has now become like a super big deal. Like, hey, we only release one per gen, but
I think
it's a big deal when we do it.
The next Mario Kart would have been out if this didn't just continue to skyrocket and just stay consistent at the sales.
I thought Nintendo was like, we'll sell 10, 20 mil. Yeah. We'll launch a new one in 2020.
The booster course pass was a pivot whenever they realized, wait a minute, this thing isn't slowing down. Like, we got a team on tour. Let's bring over those tracks. Let's bring in some brand new ones. Let's do this thing, carry it through the rest of the generation.
How long is it going to take them to make the next Zelda?
I hate to say it, but I think we're going to crack 7 years. For next mainline 3D.
So if we're just saying a new Zelda game in general, I think we'll get one in 2 to 3 because I think we'll get a top down.
Well, I think we're gonna get a Zelda almost every year, but
if you count remasters. But I mean, I'm just talking about like a brand new mainline Zelda. I think there'll be a top down one. So because of that, we will get one within 2 or 3 years. But I think Rezo's or someone's already working on it. Like it's already in the works.
Yeah, for sure. I believe it.
But in terms of like the Zelda team itself pumping out another one, because it's very clear with the success of Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, the supposed success of Tears of the Kingdom, that they need to keep going with the big 300 plus member teams and just going all out because the sales are just stupid. You'd be stupid not to do it. Yeah, it's too profitable not to do it. So, and you look at that they probably won't go away from open world. Not now. This seems like the new era. Just like A Link to the Past set up the formula then, I think this open world thing's the formula now for the big 3D Zelda games. I do think that 7 years isn't impossible, but I think they might be looking in ways to maybe get it out a bit quicker than that. And I think it's going to depend largely on what the plan is. If the plan is a third game in the Breath of the Wild style, that's also a direct sequel again, I think it actually come out a bit quicker because I think it is something they would have already started having ideas for it while making this one. to set up the next. However, that's assuming that's what it is. If it's something completely brand new, I think it's going to be largely dependent on what the scope is. Are they, if they're going to go for the scope of Tears of the Kingdom, then yeah, it could take 7 years. If they're going to go for something smaller but more content rich, then maybe we're looking more like 4. If they're using the same engine, of course. I mean, if they decide to reinvent the engine again, that's, I mean.
It is worth mentioning, sorry, real quick. It is worth mentioning that Tears of the Kingdom was developed over the pandemic too.
Yeah. I don't think it would have been. I don't think the plan was for it to be a 2023.
Right.
Game.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I also thought that by working on a sequel, the idea was to get a new Zelda out quicker. And that is absolutely not the case. Even if it came out a year sooner, that's still a long time.
Well, a year sooner would have been normal.
Mm-hmm.
5 years between 3D Zeldas is pretty normal. We've had a rare case where 2 came out really close together.
Sure.
But besides that, it's almost always been 5
But
years.
you see my point, though, right?
Yeah.
5 years would be normal between 2 Zeldas that aren't direct sequels of each other.
Yeah.
This was a direct so like I get that. And I'm not trying to slight Tears of the Kingdom. I think we talked about earlier. I think it's going to be the greatest of all time. But it's just kind of like, I thought that initially when they announced it was a sequel, I thought the idea was, okay, let's rectify this issue of Zelda's taking longer and longer to come out.
I think
instead, this ended up being the largest gap ever. And I understand the pandemic factors into that, but still, it was if it was even going to be comparable to a normal development cycle for a brand new Zelda from the ground up.
I think the plan was 2021 when they announced it in 2019. I thought they figured we're aiming 2021. That's what
I think too.
Yeah.
But then the pandemic hit and they all got sent home, and that messed up everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what made it take 2 more years.
In addition, I do think
that's what I think. I wonder if they'll get addressed in an interview. I wonder if someone's going to ask this, like, I know hey, did the pandemic affect the development of this game, like to make it take longer? I wonder if someone's going to ask that question. Maybe we'll get an answer. I have no idea.
Maybe.
It feels like an obvious answer. Every other developer out there that's delayed games has literally already brought up the pandemic caused the delay. The Zelda team's the only one to not say anything about it.
It's worth mentioning, though, too, that the Zelda team is like notorious for. I could just imagine them thinking they're going in one direction, and you know what? It's comfortable to communicate that the game is going to be out in 3 years. So let's drop the trailer now. We'll let people know it's coming. It'll for sure be there by then, and then they start getting into the depths of really creating what they want to create. And they just keep expanding. Like I imagine that that's going to take an extra 6 months. Maybe we shouldn't go to. No, let's take the time. And we want to make it the perfect experience. I'll never forget, waiting for Twilight Princess to release. And granted, that got pushed to Wii and GameCube dual release. But my GameStop receipt that I'd paid for the game on, the ink had completely worn off the receipt by the time I went to go pick up the game because it had been delayed that many times from when I paid for it. Like the Zelda team is notorious for that, pandemic or not.
Something very unique with the last 2 Zelda releases, or the one that releases now and then Breath of the Wild. Because if you think about it, Skyward Sword came out was it 2010? 2011. 2011.
Yeah.
Okay. So originally Breath of the Wild was supposed to come out in 2015. They said it multiple times. They even said it at the damn Game Awards. Like they were confident then, and then all of a sudden 2 months later it's delayed. They would have known at the Game Awards if the delay was because they needed more time to develop the game. Clearly the delay was because an executive decision was made. This is too big. We're spending too much money. The system's a flop. We need to push it to the next. Okay, fine. But the game, in theory, might have been able to be released holiday 2015. It would have been just fine. It didn't really look like there was anything off track. And if that's the case, that would have just been 4 years between releases. And if we look at if the pandemic did happen, it might have just been 4 years between the releases again. So it's sort of weird that both of these games had something happen that caused them to come out later, and yet none of it is normal. Like it might not take 7 years because I don't think the current games under normal circumstances would have took 7 years.
Yeah, but I also feel like it's become a pattern for Zelda games to take longer than expected. I think it just, in a way, it's a good thing because they're going to want to one-up Tears of the Kingdom.
Right.
They wound up supposedly like they've wound up Breath of the Wild, right? That Breath of the Wild is the biggest Zelda game ever, and Tears of the Kingdom is going to surpass that. After a while, they're going to be. They may start.
What do they do if there's no underwater in this game? Underwater's next, baby. To the moon is next, baby. Outer space.
I mean, I don't even know what they do.
We're going trains. We're going
planes, trains, and automobiles.
We're going to 4 different continents as big as Breath of the Wild.
They're probably gonna have to concept and think about this for like a year or so before they start developing in earnest, as they've said. So you know, they may not know. Like
I think they know. I think they know.
Do you do Hyrule again, or do we go away from Hyrule? Usually it's Hyrule, but they just change the time period.
I think right now the Zelda team's already working on what's next. Well, this is just what Anoma says in interviews all the time. We never stop working. Is what he basically says.
Yes,
and I'm sure they have a team working on DLC. I don't think all 300 members of the Zelda team are working on DLC. I think some of that teams are already working on what's next, and they already know what's next. They might not know what next is going to turn out yet. Unless they've already pre-decided, which they would have did during the development of this game, that there's going to be another one. But if it's a brand new one, yeah, maybe they're in the conceptual stages now, but they're in the conceptual stages. And I don't really think it takes a year and a half. I think what happens is they get an initial idea, they start working on it, and they just keep adding ideas until they get to a point that someone's like, all right, no, we got to stop. No, not happening. No. And it's undeniable this next one's going to be on the next hardware. Even if you're the guy that thinks the Switch is going 10 years, this next Zelda game's on the next hardware for the next.
By the way, if you think the Switch is going for 10 years, like it's going to.
There are people that go back to that quote where they said 7 to 10, and they said it's 10. They said 7 to 10, it's 10. Okay.
Yeah, but I know, know, but I'm just saying it for some people listening. 10 means its entire lifespan, meaning it's going to coexist with other systems.
Yeah.
So
there's I don't think the new system comes up. And if you want proof, actually, that the Switch is going to coexist for a little bit, Nintendo's European research and development team had a hiring post up for somebody to handle cross-platform play between Nintendo Switch and basically Redacted. Next generation, Redacted. So Nintendo's already planning for the Switch to still sell after the new system comes out by having some of their games be cross-platform. So maybe all of them. Who knows? And where do they learn that trick from? Look across the aisle to Sony, who's been doing it for multiple generations now. It's how you handle a console generation. You don't just cut it up. Now, it's weird because it does feel like they're not making PS4s anymore, which is just, that might have been a strange pandemic thing. We're like, hey, we just can't make both. We just can't make both right now. So that might have been a really unique situation, but that's not what happened before. They were still making PS3s well into PS4 being out. PS2s obviously went well into PS3. So like I think Nintendo's planning to sell both for a while. And that's why I said trickle sales of Switch still might get it to be the number one selling system of all time if they're going to still sell it for another 3 years. But that doesn't mean it won't be something new out there.
Those stripped down $99 Wiis were still selling well after the Wii U came out too. Maybe not in large quantities, and there wasn't like true cross-platform support. But to my point, like I think you could actually bring out the Switch 2, even if for some reason it wasn't backwards compatible, which I think it will be. There's still going to be a natural lifespan that people pick up a discounted console, as the new one is selling. And where we're at now, if they don't announce it until the end of this year or 2024, you could hypothetically see how that would last a couple more years of selling at a discounted price, even just the Switch today. I mean, you'll buy their kid a, $150 Switch Lite or $200 Switch base model then with the kind of library that it has.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap up our show today, because we got to spend a little time afterwards waiting for it to render so we can get the audio version up, because I want the audio version to go up before Tears of the Kingdom actually launches. So we're in a bit of a time crunch tonight. I do want to thank everyone for being here. Thanking all of our guests. Thank Darren earlier. Sorry about your power outage, man. You can go follow him on Twitter at RealDern. It's linked down in the description. HMK as well. I'm sure one of our moderators can go pop off. In the chat here, we got chat commands. Our moderators can throw it up. So go subscribe to HMK. I know he's on his road to 200,000 subscribers. So go check him out. We got Andres Restart here. I'm just gonna say it. Screw it. He's on his road to 100K. Let's just go all the way. Go subscribe to his channel, baby. Let's do it. You guys like my content, and a lot of you love, especially my Zelda stuff. You need to go watch his Zelda content. It is at a completely different level than what I'm doing, and he's very respectful of spoilers as well. Obviously, once the game is out, I don't know what his content plans are, but it'll be very obvious if it's a video you want to watch. So go check out his stuff. He's also, as he was teasing earlier, Metroid's the way to go. He's going to be all over that Metroid. He loves Metroid.
If Metroid Prime 4 is coming out this year, my gosh.
Yeah. His Metroid content is awesome. And then we also have some donation on here. You guys can go check him out as well. We'll put links in the chat for him too. He does a lot of news stuff. He's always on top of those eShop sales and everything else. You want to tease anything you got going on, bud?
The only thing is I am going to do a rare live stream on Tears of the Kingdom launch day and play some of the early hours of the
what
game.
Tears of the Kingdom's doing.
Yeah, so besides my normal news videos, which is, 5, 6, 7 a week, depending. But yeah, Tears of the Kingdom will get me to live stream it. So I'm excited to do that on launch day. Yep, cannot wait. It'll be afternoon time. I'm not going to pull the 12-hour Nate schedule. Shout out to you for that's
I'm
next level.
You know what, though? I'm killing myself for fun. So I'm good with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So,
I'm going back to the high school days, pretending I don't have children. We'll see how many days that Yulia allows me to pretend I don't have kids. I'm not sure I'm going to.
I'm taking PTO from my job. You're taking PTO from your family. It's all right. Zelda's here. Zelda's here. No.
Hey, I'm not giving up time with Yulia because I'm done at 8 p.m. So I still get to hang out with her at night, but not my kids. I'm taking a break from the kids, I guess. I say that they're going to be down here banging on that door. Dad, I want my tablet. You broke it, remember? Andres, you got anything coming up you want to tease, or is it just like, we don't know what's happening because Tears of the Kingdom's coming out?
Yeah. There will probably be something timeline related to Zelda coming out in less than 48 hours. And I mean, there's going to be something Zelda tomorrow too, because of their reviews coming out and, well, the interviews. So there's a lot of Zelda stuff coming.
I got at least 2 videos tomorrow, guys. We got the interviews. They're releasing both tomorrow, so I'll probably, assuming they release them both at the same time, I'll put them in one video, and then reviews. We'll be going over that. So I got at least 2 videos tomorrow. Who knows what else?
Yeah. I'll also be streaming like most people Zelda. Tomorrow, I guess I'm streaming Breath of the Wild, but starting Friday, it'll be Tears of the Kingdom.
Nice. What time are you streaming it on Friday?
I haven't decided yet.
I'm at 8 a.m. I'm locked and loaded.
Yeah, I won't do. It'll be in the evening.
In the evening,
I'll stream it. So,
will that be when you first play it, or are you gonna play it?
No, I'm gonna play it at midnight on my own, record footage, and just get that private experience, and then I'll have my second playthrough be live.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty then, and Eric, I don't know what you got going on other than
not being here next week.
Yep.
But
well, guys, next week's show is actually at noon Central Time. Kit and Krista are coming on. So is Monster Maze. I hope Andres Research's coming on. I have already brought it up with him. He hasn't decommitted yet, so I think we'll be good. Even though we probably want to be playing Tears of the Kingdom instead at the time. We get the
at
special
noon.
Yeah, at noon. Well, maybe
Wednesday?
not at noon.
So 1 year time.
It'll be 1 year time.
It's feasible.
Yeah, it's feasible. It's feasible. Anyways, it's just a special thing. Every time we have Kit and Krista on, they can't do anything but like right at noon. That's like what fits in their schedule. So we just kind of adjust things around here. They're only on like, were they on 2 months ago? I don't know.
They're on a couple months ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So they'll probably be on a few more times if you guys like them. They clearly liked us, so they're coming back. They asked me. That's kind of cool. Former Nintendo employees. Who knew that I'd leave such an impression? Maybe they don't actually watch my content because then they won't want to be here. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Next time we see you guys on the podcast, Tears of the Kingdom will be out. We'll have basically first impressions popping off. It's going to be a lot of fun. A really cool, interesting discussion with everyone having played the game. It's going to be great. Have a good rest of your day.
Peace.